We begin our story with someone saying that the students, after studying for so long, have learned the theoretical part about the profession system. In the place, one can clearly see a strange transmutation circle glowing in green. And the man in front shouts that today is the day their professions will be chosen and determined, and this is the headmaster of the first CI Academy, known as Lu Yun. This elder states that he doesn't want to take much time and only hopes that they become like their seniors and turn into one of the pillars of the human race. We can see that everyone is tense with the situation, as if the atmosphere itself is heavy. And among them, we see our protagonist, Lin Moyu, who is a reincarnated one that came to this world years ago. It is described that this is a place with a typical RPG game style with dungeons and secret areas. After their profession selection, they can gain experience and level up by killing creatures in those places. After countless human sages made efforts, they managed to create a stable society throughout this world. And of course, the most popular professions are the combat ones, followed by support professions, which are divided into 4 rarity categories. In the end, even with the entire population of the city, no one has obtained a legendary profession in the last 10 years. Soon, the announcer states that the transmutation circle has been activated to be used, and a friend of our protagonist approaches, asking what profession he wants to receive. And this blonde says he wants to be a knight. After all, he'll be able to protect all the girls and even help our protagonist with a shield. But others approach him, telling him not to talk to that idiot because he's the type who doesn't talk to anyone and has no kind of potential. However, the friend promptly states that our protagonist just doesn't talk because he doesn't like to waste his words in the end. We then see the presenter greeting the formation master of level 52, saying he apologizes for bothering him. The boy observes this and is shocked to realize that there is an extremely rare support profession in front of him. And the bearded man says he'll call them by name and they should step into the transformation circle, and the first will be the one called Suda. The class that was chosen was the farmer for this man present in the location. Desperate, the teenager can't believe he got such a useless subsistence class. Everyone around him says it's not a bad profession, but it could have been better in the end. Another boy is called, and he receives the chef class, saying he's satisfied because he inherited this ability from his father who has the same profession. The elder states that the students are quite common, and it is said that a rare profession could appear. And with a smile, the old man says it would be interesting if a high-level combat class appeared, which is said to happen only twice a year. We can see that the next is Shizaksu, who says she won't fall behind the protagonist and will show she's a true genius. In her thoughts, she states that the two are considered the greatest geniuses of this academy, but the boy has always been above her, though she won't give up. The elder, as he stares at her, realizes she has enormous latent potential in her veins. Soon, the bearded man asks what is being said, to which it is replied that her mental strength is extraordinary, and because of that, she might awaken a mage class. As she steps into the circle, it's visible that a flame begins to rise with a reddish hue, and huge explosions begin to happen in the sky, and there, everyone realizes it is the emergence of a rare profession. The combat class that was given to her is the elemental mage. Everyone there screams that she is truly amazing for getting something of this level, saying that, as expected, her reputation is well-deserved. The elder states that the young woman has great talent, thus prompting her to show respect by bowing before her senior. The girls around say she did excellently in everything and even believe that this time she might be able to surpass that annoying Lin Moyo. But the girl, upon hearing this, is surprised and thinks about our protagonist, who is the next to be called for his class selection in this very important place. With a dark tone, she watches while giving a brief smile, believing he won't have much potential. The elder states that the boy has nothing special, which is said to possibly be due to his simple demeanor. However, the boy is considered the #1 genius of this academy, making the elder say that this has nothing to do with the class selection. But the bearded man wonders whether the protagonist will really be able to obtain a rare profession. Suddenly, as he steps into the circle, we can see that a massive storm of power has erupted in this place. The clouds begin to grow heavy, and everyone there realizes that this is an extraordinary sight, since not even the weather forecast had predicted this. The man questions what is happening at this exact moment, as he has never seen anything like it. And the elder states that this is a vision of something much greater that is about to occur. The headmaster, feeling an extreme pressure, says it's completely terrifying and wonders if it will be another rare combat or even support profession. The girl, on the other hand, thinks she can't lose to our protagonist and says this vision is much greater than the one she had when she received her profession. One of the students suddenly notices something dark coming from the clouds in this place, and we can see several eyes appearing amidst the storm as if it were the omen of an army. As the clouds dissipate, it's clearly visible that undead have begun appearing in this place that was supposed to be safe. One person ends up falling backward, saying that these clouds are a vision of the end of the world because they are full of the undead. And we can clearly see that an entire group of them has appeared in the vision of our protagonist, who has just received this powerful class. The girl knows this is only a vision, but isn't sure if she'll be able to fight something of that level. The souls settle calmly into the body of our boy as a whistle echoes through the area, and thus it is described that his combat class is that of a necromancer, unique and secret. The boy observes this, realizing that he is the only necromancer in the entire world at this exact moment. Even if he ends up dying, no new generation will arise with the same talent as his. People start talking, saying that he's an incredible person, while others feel envy. One of the men says that secret professions are just rare but not necessarily good, and one of the teenagers mocks how well it matches his personality. Our boy remains calm, stating that this exclusive profession is much better than he had imagined. Suddenly, the elder approaches Lin, telling him to wait for a moment. The young man shows respect by bowing his head and asking what his senior wishes to request. The man says he has never seen a unique profession before and for that reason, asks him to demonstrate his abilities, to which the young man agrees. And upon analyzing them, he realizes that he possesses the ability to summon a level 1 skeleton warrior, considered Black Iron, the lowest classification. The young man thinks that his spiritual power is stronger and could compare to a mage's, but his ability is similar to that of summoners, and so he uses his power. Thus, a Black Iron skeleton warrior with only 15 stats appears before him. Everyone is shocked to see that he managed to summon a monster of this type from the dark clouds. Suddenly, the mage performs a small attack on the protagonist's servant in a single move to test it. The skeleton warrior enters attack mode, stating that it will counterattack in 10 seconds if not stopped by its master. And the boy promptly orders his servant to hold position, and the mage finds this very interesting. He is a level 52 professional, and even so, the summon remain hostile toward him, stating that as the protagonist level increases, it will become even stronger. The elder promptly thanks him for this beautiful demonstration, hoping that the young man will grow stronger over time. Soon, the boy begins walking alongside his summon, who is escorting him at this very moment. The blonde approaches, saying this is really cool and asking if he can touch it. As he does, he asks if his powerful skeleton is said to be stronger than him, surprising the friend with such a statement. Soon after, he is called to be the next, and then says he will get his profession and return to talk to him. The system explains that the space is 1 out of 10, and the young man realizes that he can summon it without using energy this way, and upon leveling up, he can store even more than before. But then he becomes a bit thoughtful as he considers this possibility, because when he received his profession, he was able to see a true necromancer, and one day he too will be capable of slaying dragons in just a few seconds using his army. The blonde approaches again, saying that he became a knight and from now on will be his shield, so if anyone wants to kill him, they'll have to go through our protagonist's corpse. And the friend promptly says that he spoke after so long and admits he did it on purpose just to see if he was paying attention to his words. The presenter clearly says that professions don't matter, it will have a chance at the academy if they improve and prove their worth, and for that, he wishes them well. Lin Moyu thinks that the newbie dungeons have monsters from level 1 to 8 and are not very difficult, being the safest compared to the world outside. Suddenly, Su approaches, saying she wants to compete with him to compare their exam results, to which the young man promptly agrees. The boy walks past her while she says it's decided, declaring that she won't lose to him, because even though she lost today, she won't give up. We see our protagonist's house, where he's looking at a photo on his shelf. He tells his grandmother that he got a profession and that it's super rare, and also tells his sister to wait for him since she'll be joining Xiajing Academy in the future. Suddenly, someone knocks on the door, catching his attention. Upon opening it, he realizes it's Director Lu, who came to deliver some supplies to him. This man says that last year in the city of Sihai, only the protagonist's older sister was accepted into Xiajing Academy. He promised her that he would take care of her younger brother before she left for that academy. Our protagonist promptly thanks him, and the man takes his leaves, saying that tomorrow the young man will take a test in the dungeon and should get a good night's rest. Suddenly, midnight falls and the system screen begins to load, startling our boy. It is said that the host has awakened the necromancer profession and fulfilled the prerequisites to awaken the unique divine level talent, damage comprehension, and transfer. It is then read that this ability transfers all damage received by the mage to his summons, and the effects of all skills are multiplied fivefold. The boy promptly summons his skeleton warrior to see how it is, and upon observing it, he realizes that its stats are clearly 6 times higher than before in this entire situation. He then states that with this ability, he can become invincible in this new world. The next day, we see that our boy has already arrived at the dungeon portal, and his friend asks if they want to form a party. When he answers no, the young man starts shouting, calling him a jerk for looking down on him, but Lin just replies that it's because speed decreases in a group. The girl says that he's right in the end, since experience is split equally, and that going with someone who helps is the best way to level up. This man says that Seaksu, Lin Moyu, and the other combat professions can bring support into the dungeon, and the rest can form parties among themselves. It's said that the girl has a truly extraordinary skill, but they don't know our protagonist's potential, so they'll have to ask for help. The other people watching begin to tremble because they're afraid of the undead and don't want to team up with our protagonist. The boy then says that he's also aiming for Xiajing Academy and will take this test alone just the same. And the director promptly shows concern, saying it's very difficult to enter the place and that his sister had to be at level 16 just to have a chance. It's hard to imagine he'll reach level 12 in just one short week, besides the other requirements that will be revealed at the end and which no one knows for sure. However, our young man says he is confident, which makes the director agree with the situation since, as the protagonist has a secret profession, it might work. The girl says they'll compete to see who's faster, and so she'll take his silence as a yes. Our young man, on the other hand, just scratches his head, thinking she's really competitive in the end. Soon he approaches the portal, already preparing to perform such a feat. And as soon as he enters, he thinks that he used 10 of his points to summon a skeleton, and after meditating, he recovered 40 points and will summon 4 warriors. With that, the young man extends his staff forward, commanding them to advance, giving the final order that they must find and kill all the monsters that appear in front of them. The skeletons are fast and can eliminate the creatures extremely easily. And the boy thinks that each monster increases his experience by 1%, so eliminating 100 will already be enough to level up. In the end, since the skeletons give him all the experience, it's really productive. After half an hour, he already manages to level up in an overwhelming way and all his stats increase equally. The boy promptly says that he will summon level 2 warriors from now on, thinking that the stats have even increased, and this is only the beginning of his story. The creatures are extremely powerful and can eliminate the monsters with enormous ease. Our boy, on the other hand, realizes there's an extra function as the path of the skeleton warriors will create a map for him. However, some monsters end up slipping through, so it's a good time to test his new active skill. And so he uses Soul Flame on one of the cats that was watching. Since his ability is amplified 5 times, even a creature like that ends up turning to ashes due to the spiritual attack, which ignores physical and magical defense. And with the boost from the necromancer talent, it's important to say that this profession is probably stronger than the legendary ones, and so he levels up again. With a confident smile, our young man looks forward. Then he summons more skeleton warriors to assist him. The system keeps notifying each creature that was killed and the experience obtained from each animal. It is said that the duration of this dungeon is 12 hours, and in 4 hours he reached level 4, and if he continues like this, he'll reach level 8, where he can enter the suburbs of Taihai. We see the outside where Xiepsu's father is talking to the director about his daughter's status. The man says he did nothing but take care of her, as she works hard and is very smart. Besides that, she obtained an extremely rare profession. But the father is afraid because he can't miss her first dungeon, and her seniors have rare professions and only reached level 5 on this journey. The director, on the other hand, says that they'll be able to predict the level up speed by judging how they entered earlier in the day. It's said that there's a countdown inside the dungeon, and after 12 hours, they'll see how strong they've become. This man heard about a secret profession that emerged, and it's said that yes, it's Lin Mohan's brother, and he says he'll make sure the girl stays under his protection. We then return inside the dungeon where we can see a mist settling in the air. The system informs that a level 7 bear was just eliminated, and the protagonist realizes that his skeletons can be up to 500 meters away from him. Almost 7 hours have passed and he hasn't seen any level 8 monster and wants to know how the others are doing in this situation. As he walks further ahead, he observes the place calmly, until suddenly something rushes in his direction, catching his attention with extreme tension. And as soon as he's hit, his passive damage transfer ability is activated, making him unscathed. This is a level 8 whip tree, and it will attack any living creature that passes nearby, and our protagonist promptly realizes this is the dungeon's monster. And he states that with his own stats and the warrior's stats, there won't be any problem eliminating the tree. Thus, the first skeleton charges forward, attacking the trunk of the massive creature in a single strike. But then he realizes that it didn't die in one hit like the previous ones. And he notices that it takes 4 strikes to eliminate a level 8 monster, and that will greatly slow down his leveling speed. However, in the end, there are 100 of these creatures, so it will be nothing more than a sanctuary of experience. So all the undead charge forward to eliminate the trees and gain experience for their master. With a single strike, we can see that the skeleton completely destroys the tree, and several notifications appear on our protagonist's screen. After some time, we can see someone coming out of the portal, scaring everyone there because it's necessary to get past the level 8 monsters to reach the exit. But upon exiting, our protagonist says that he killed all the monsters inside, and that's why he decided to leave the place. The elder realizes that he reached level 7 in just 10 hours, and the boy says that there weren't many monsters and that he'd at least like to go to the suburbs of Sihai. This is the first time that the old man hears of someone who killed everything in that dungeon in such a short time and wonders if it might be an ability of the necromancer. As a reward, the old man says he will allow him to arrange a travel certificate and that he can rest and wait for the other students because everything will be organized. The executors promptly notice that the boy came out of there without any companion and in much less time than expected. And so the director explains that he is Lin Moyu and crossed the easy level dungeon by killing all the level 8 monsters in the area. As expected from a secret profession, this class could easily be among the legendary ones on the continent and is likely to reach much higher levels. The director says that this boy has a brilliant future, and if he enters the Sing Academy, then he thinks they will have a headache and CXUI will likely be impacted. And the old man promptly says that the results in that place never change and the girl has been in second place for 2 years, surprising the elder who didn't know that. Our boy is meditating and thinks that so far the number of skeleton warriors has already reached 24 out of 70, so he should use the time during meditation. We see another person coming out being Su, who says she won't fall behind the protagonist and asks where he is at this exact moment. Then she realizes that he has already left the place and questions how that's possible. And she is startled to see that he's already at level 7 in such a short time, surpassing her again. We see her father calling her and she wonders why he's there, though her mind remains uncertain. The elder tries to calm her and the young woman says that Baster has always been ahead of her through all the years. But then she says that this is her own issue and she can't keep losing to that idiot. And the father reveals that he killed all the monsters in the dungeon in just 10 hours. The young woman is immensely surprised by this because she left the area of level 7 monsters and didn't see any of rank 8 and questions how something like that is even possible. The blonde promptly approaches the protagonist in tears, calling him boss and asking if he can take him along next time, to which the boy replies yes. And so the young man says it's settled and he will wait for the protagonist at the academy entrance tomorrow. But the next morning, we see that he is waiting in the breeze until the director informs him that the young man went to the suburbs of Sihai. Annoyed, the boy says his friend tricked him, and that's why he'll fight him to the death, and the elder says he'll lose in the end anyway. Suddenly, we see another place, the checkpoint of the Shen Xia Empire. By touching a stone, the identification is initialized as being from our protagonist, who was granted passage into the Empire at that exact moment. And so he wonders if there is any suitable mission for him, to which one appears: invade a level 14 domain and acquire the Goblin Chief's core. This mission has a lot of money involved and will definitely be difficult, and the difficulty in this world is divided into 3: normal, nightmare, and hell. The second hardest, which is nightmare, usually requires a strong team to clear without problems. As for hell, it requires people with legendary classes to complete such objectives, and it seems he won't be able to take on that mission right now. The knight promptly notices our boy and wonders what class he might have and still questions how he has permission to leave the city, but then decides to ignore it and says he should be careful and if anything happens, he must return to the city because his life is the priority. We can see that he has already entered the area and it's said that these are 2 completely different worlds, not just a simple wall, but prison on the other side. Suddenly, a monster begins to approach with a heavy step. It is a goblin who observes our protagonist, who seems distracted. However, he summons his skeleton and commands it to go and kill the goblin that's watching him. We see that the creature is level 10, but it doesn't compare to the strength of his skeleton warrior at 375. Several other monsters run toward our protagonist, who has already summoned his army at this moment. And in thought, he realizes this is the capability of goblin, and if he can continue at this pace, he'll probably reach level 15 by the end of the day. But it's still strange to know how his sister reached level 16 before the final exam. But then he remembers how radiant she was and how she asked what he wanted to eat every single day, and that's why he will enter the academy no matter what. Upon reaching level 10, it's impressive how quickly he got there, and his spirit level has already reached 300 because he's a mage or something like that. In addition, his skeletons have been upgraded to bronze level, and when summoned, it's noticeable that their stats increased immensely, and they gain new abilities. Our protagonist thinks that now he'll be able to dominate this area with his skeleton warriors. But now he realizes he has wiped out all the monsters in the area, and there's no longer a way to level up with them. Suddenly, an arrow flies in his direction, making the young man widen his eyes. And as he's hit in the chest, his passive damage transfer ability activates, making the damage practically null. Looking ahead, he sees a woman passing by and wonders who she might be. Observing her more closely, he sees that she must have the assassin profession, and the one who attacked him likely had at least a bow and arrow in the end. The girl promptly walks past both of them, ignoring them in that moment, and our protagonist does the same. We see 2 men approaching, and our boy realizes these are the ones he was looking for. Their direction in the end is wrong, and they'll never catch that assassin. One of the men says the person was cunning and also managed to escape, and the archer asks if he saw anyone wearing clothes similar to those of the assassin class. But our boy ignores them, saying that her arrow hit him and therefore she should apologize immediately. The archer promptly apologizes without any concern and wonders how this kid, hit by an arrow, is still fine. Our protagonist says he shouldn't do that again, further irritating the man. And the blonde who is with him notices that the young man has a skeleton warrior right at his side. The creature promptly steps in front of its master just to protect him from any incoming attack. Angrily, the blonde says that summon undead only come from a class of disgusting people and definitely not from a good person. However, his companion tells him not to do anything in the end, as it would be troublesome. And the blonde promptly says he knows that, which is why he decided to ignore all of it. Our protagonist says they're smart, and if they did anything, they would receive something 100 times worse. His experience efficiency has decreased, and after reaching level 10, it takes 3 times more than before. He doesn't have much time in the end, but it's also impossible to return home at this exact moment. If he wants to enter Exceedajing Academy, he needs to try harder than anyone else in his school. We see the trees being lit by a fiery glow, a campfire our boy made. And Soki thinks he won't be able to reach level 15 by the day after tomorrow and will only be able to enter the academy if he reaches level 16. He questions how his sister managed to level up so much because even with a legendary profession, it's still hard to believe she was that fast. But then he remembers the XAI Mine dungeons and that she may have formed a team to invade on Nightmare difficulty, and that was why she returned so injured. With that in mind, he says that the next day he'll see what he can do to catch up to her. Soon, some time passes and night echoes through the whispers of the forest, and someone suddenly approaches, catching the attention of our protagonist's protective corpse. The boy realizes it's a professional and wonders if there are still people who hunt in the middle of the night in this place. But as the person approaches, it turns out to be the assassin from before, who asks if the young man has any food with him. Our boy promptly hands her a sweet potato without any hesitation, seeming to be extremely kind. The girl then takes off her mask, revealing herself to be extremely beautiful. But then in his thoughts, the boy says she looks really hungry and wonders how that's possible. From eating so quickly, she suddenly starts choking, catching our boy's attention. She grabs a water bottle and drinks it all at once to swallow everything properly. She then thanks him and asks what our protagonist's name is, since he hasn't introduced himself yet. But the boy, being someone of few words, simply remains silent, watching her. She says he may not like to talk, but at the very least they can analyze each other's abilities to learn more. Both touch fingers, using the analysis skill to read one another. But our boy is surprised to see that the skill failed and didn't retrieve any information, and the young woman doesn't seem surprised by this. The girl reads that his name is Lin Moyu, and that he's level 10 with the profession of necromancer, something she's never heard of before. But she thinks she saw him with a skeleton soldier and states it's something extremely rare after all. The girl waves her hand, asking why he doesn't speak, and then suspects he might be mute, but our young man promptly asks why. Completely happy, the woman realizes that the protagonist is still capable of speaking after all. Then the boy continues by repeating the same question, asking the reason for that. The girl explains that she has a blocking medal that only allows someone 10 levels above her to analyze her. Then she puts the item away and tells the protagonist to try observing her ability again. The boy points his finger, which charges up again to view her stats. And upon seeing the screen, he realizes that the young woman is a level 19 shadow assassin, something quite unusual in this place. Suddenly, both of them get a bad feeling, and our boy has a mental image of enemies approaching from two different directions. The boy realizes that his skeleton detected that they're trying to surround him in this tight space. And the girl says they haven't given up and mentions she only has a mid-rank scroll, so she doesn't want to be chased around for another day. So as she gets up, she says she's leaving because she's in trouble and hopes to see him again. However, she dodges an attack coming from behind her with extreme agility. But when it hits the trunk, we see that the projectile emits an aura, immediately marking our protagonist and his assassin companion at once, while the archer laughs at their expressions. A marking arrow is really a problem, since she won't be able to go invisible or even leave the area quickly like she usually does. Our protagonist watches the scene, realizing that this archer has anti-invisibility skills, something perfect to be used against assassins. He assumes they came prepared, and the blonde says there's nowhere to run this time. It's said that he knew the two were a team because a filthy rat and an evil summoner make a good pair after all. The girl tries to say he has nothing to do with this and offers to hand over the scroll skill, so they'll never see each other again. But the archer says that could have been accepted yesterday. Now the safest decision is to kill them, so there won't be any rumors about what happened here. The young woman tells the protagonist she'll distract them while he escapes, while he worries about his new companion. She tries to explain that she's a shadow assassin and can dance freely away under the moonlight, to which our boy says that can't be true, because she's already been marked and her invisibility won't work against this type of enemy, who is now in every direction. The archer quickly shouts for them to stop wasting time and just kill the girl already. And then the blonde-haired mage raises his staff, saying he doesn't want to take the protagonist's life. He wants to watch him suffer until the last moment of his pathetic existence. Then the illumination skill is used, making everyone visible in that open field. It's explained in thought that this completely disables shadow and invisibility skills, so the assassin is now destined for a brutal death. But the girl, growing tense, says she has to give it her all so she doesn't end up dying right there. And all three men are already prepared to eliminate our protagonist along with his new companion in a single strike, leaving no witnesses. The entire field is against them, and we can clearly see that our protagonist remains relaxed in the end. He then briefly raises his hand, summoning his shadow skeletons to his call. The mage tries to say this is a waste of energy, and that undead summons are disgusting to an extreme level. He immediately shouts that the fireballs of a level 20 mage are enough to turn them into ashes. The girl tries to pull our protagonist, telling him to run as fast as he can to avoid the attack. But when she tries, she realizes it's impossible. Spiritual threads have already been tied to her shoes, preventing her from escaping. The archer fires 3 projectiles, saying this is the moment they say goodbye, to finally end the evil that is those two. The girl can only shout that this is bad as the 3 arrows fly in her direction. She tries to push the protagonist to help him dodge the attack, but then she realizes it's impossible to escape. After all, the fireball is heading toward her while the arrows come straight at her, making her eyes widen. Suddenly, we see our protagonist Groot finally emerge from the shadows all at once. The first skeleton takes the attack directly without suffering any damage. Meanwhile, another monster uses its own sword to block the attack, which fails to cause any harm to it. Another creature also emerges, charging at the knight with its shield to stop him from moving toward the protagonist. And the force is so great that it pushes back the one who was supposed to be the toughest among the group. The skeleton that took the fireball is completely intact and skillfully holds its axes, ready to end the situation. The mage then questions how this is possible, since his analysis skill said this boy is just a level 10 necromancer. He then desperately shouts not to let him get closer, saying a level 20 mage shouldn't lose to someone 10 levels below him. The archer starts questioning what that was as he doesn't understand how any of this is possible. And the knight says his skills have no effect on these summons, so they question why their attributes are so high. To their surprise, several blue flames form around the archer. They also settle around the knight in the same ghostly way. And stunned, the mage can feel that danger is arriving at that very moment. After all, an entire army just appeared right then. All of different sizes are now surrounding him, ready to eliminate those who dared attack our protagonist. Their images are fragmented as if they were weak, but it's clear they have much more strength than they appear to. The young woman is left speechless upon realizing that these are the same skeletons from before, and they seem extremely fragile, but can endure these powerful attacks. She questions if such a massive summoning could really be done by a rare or even regular level mage. Our boy, eyes closed, gently pushes his companion. Then he opens his eyes, which emit a deep blue flame of a necromancer. We can see that the protagonist's stats are much higher than before, to the point where his comprehension power has already increased his summon abilities tenfold. Sensing the danger, the mage quickly tries to raise a magic barrier around himself. However, the creatures are able to break through that defense with a simple physical attack without any difficulty. With a second charge, the boy can feel the pressure of being about to die. In desperation, he raises his staff, summoning flames around him to try and protect himself while attacking. He follows that with a maniacal smile, shouting for the creatures from hell to taste all his power. However, our protagonist's soldiers pass through the flames without any difficulty, charging at the mage as if he were nothing more than a cockroach. And so they finish him with brutal attacks, splitting his body into 3 parts. The archer thinks this is completely insane, as instant death is supposed to take a few seconds, and he doesn't understand how he's even being tracked in this situation. In the end, escape seems impossible, and his speed has reached a level of 1500, so it shouldn't even be possible to keep up with him. Our protagonist, however, ends up surprised to see that the knight has extreme defense abilities. It's said that with that, he can withstand attacks from a level 40 mage, and individuals who possess this kind of power devote their time to mastering it completely. But the man says these skeletons are terrifying, and if he had known he was walking into his death, he would never have accepted this in the first place. Our boy promptly raises his hand, thinking he can't let them escape, using the ability of his soldiers to make sure they can't get away. This is the Fury attack that increases the damage by 200%. The knight screams in fear upon realizing that the undead are even capable of using unique abilities after all. It is said in his thoughts that his ability lasts for 1 minute, but the time is reduced with each attack, and that's why this is his limit. So in desperation, he can only curse the heavens and the world as the corpses come toward him. Our protagonist remembers his sister saying that if he's going to do something, then he must not hesitate at any moment. The young girl, observing this, questions whether they're all dead, as Lin Moyu wasn't even fazed by it. The boy, on the other hand, thinks that when a professional dies, the items they stored are dropped, so he'll check it out. Looking at them, they realize they're from level 18, even rare equipment for people of that level. The girl states that these weapons can only be obtained from the Carmen or dungeon, mainly from level 20. The boy promptly uses his storage space to keep the equipment, which is useless but should be worth some money on the market. Then he notices a primary skill scroll worth 10,000 gold, and the girl says he can try using it to get a new ability. She then says he shouldn't sell it, as something primary isn't worth much in this world, and the young man asks how to use it. The girl quickly says it's simple, he just needs to shout and use it while holding the scroll. But when he does it, nothing happens, and we realize the boy fell into his companion's prank. Laughing, the girl says she might have lied, but if he really wants it to work, he has to say it with more passion. Observing this, our boy realizes he probably just needs to inject spiritual energy to activate the scroll. The girl is surprised that he figured it out so quickly, and is even disappointed because she wanted to keep messing with her friend. In the end, our young man gained the corpse explosion skill, which wasn't in vain after all. In the eyes of a necromancer, a corpse also possesses life energy, and though it seems weak, it's incredibly powerful. Its range of action will be increased to 10 meters due to our protagonist's skill. So when one of the corpses explodes, it will trigger a chain reaction with the others, making it extremely useful for area attacks. Thanks to his luck, all of his skills can become high level, and the girl asks if he got something new. The boy says yes, and the girl promptly praises him, saying his voice is extremely calm and even pleasant to listen to. Our protagonist, on the other hand, looks at her thinking she's quite different from the other girls at the academy who only despise him in the end. And so he says that his friend has a beautiful voice, leaving her completely over the moon at that moment. The girl hands a small chest to our boy, saying it's for saving her life and for the compliment. The boy is surprised to see it's an intermediate level scroll worth at least 1 million, being very valuable after all. But then he realizes the girl is being chased because of it and questions in his thoughts whether she's just giving it away so easily. After a while, she decides to explain that she found a secret chest in the Carmen Orc Legion dungeon, something random that she was lucky to discover. She got the scroll when she opened the chest, and it was something extremely casual for her. But what the young woman hadn't noticed was that she was being watched by those bastards who wanted to rob her. Even if it wasn't worth that much, it was something she rightfully earned. That's the story of how they were chasing her, and after running for 2 days, she managed to reach this place in the end. Our protagonist points out that she nearly died, and the girl reassures him by saying that if she suffers a critical hit, she'll be transported far away, but still thanks him. Trembling slightly, she says it hurts to be wounded and she's terribly afraid of it, and our boy thinks the young woman is even more of a rich girl than he had imagined. The girl promptly asks if he has anything to eat because she's starving and asks for a potato. While eating it, she asks which university the boy plans to go to since he's leveling up, and he replies it's Xiajing. She then says it's not bad at all, and with his ability, it's impossible for him not to get in. If he can't, then no one else will be able to. With that in mind, she decides to give him a tip not to forget to go to the Shengshan Tower as soon as possible. The reward will be doubled on the first challenge, and he has to clear as many floors as possible on his first attempt. That way, they'll earn several academy points that are worth gold coins, besides other things like a crafting seminar at the university. After all that conversation, our boy covers her with a coat, seeming to even enjoy this unexpected company. And so he relaxes to meditate and recover his spiritual energy. The next day, the young girl wakes up asking if he has more sweet potatoes because she's very hungry. With all the items in hand, she says it's too little and therefore asks him to be a gentleman and hand everything over to her. The boy promptly says there's none left, making his companion relax because she fully trusts him. Getting up, she says she's leaving now because she's also leveling up too much, and tells him to level up quickly so they can meet again in the future and farm levels together. Our protagonist, watching her walk away, seemed delighted by that presence that had become dear to him. But then, getting up, he says it's time to test his new skill on those bodies lying there. Extending his hand forward, a red energy envelops his arm, and so the corpse explosion is used. We can see that the destruction area is immense and throws our protagonist slightly backward at that moment. He realizes that the area grew a lot due to the effect of his talent, and it's a skill that can eliminate bodies without leaving a trace, something extremely powerful. That's why he's going to put it into practice in the Shihai Mine dungeon from now on. After the transition of his skeleton warriors to bronze, the cost to summon them increased significantly, and now after meditation, he can only summon 4 more. He doesn't need to rush as soon his space will be filled with an army. It's clear he's already reached the dungeon he was looking for. We can see several people looking for individuals to enter the area and level up. Our boy arrives accompanied by his skeleton, keeping his head down to avoid drawing too much attention. But that's impossible. Looking at the status panel, he realizes the true difficulty already features extremely powerful monsters, and without a group, it would be difficult to complete this task. Suddenly, someone approaches, trying to use the scanning system and asking if our protagonist is a summoner. But then they're shocked to see a blocking emblem denied the ability, and the skeleton glares at him with extreme suspicion. The other members try to approach, asking the protagonist to join their group since they need someone capable like him. And promptly, our boy lifts his head, stating that he won't accept any requests today. Soon, the system asks if he wants to confirm his choice to enter on nightmare difficulty after all. So the young man accepts, causing an enormous pressure to surround him. Everyone is startled to see that he entered that place alone and wonder if he's reckless or someone extremely powerful. They couldn't see anything in the protagonist's status, so they'll wait to see if he comes out alive. Inside the Aksuhai dungeon, we see our boy sensing a strong smell of blood and hearing that if he steps out of that circle, he'll be detected instantly. Facing a goblin, he realizes it has abnormal strength even compared to the usual ones, so its experience must be extremely high. The constitution of a level 14 knight is extremely low for the elite monsters in this place, and that's why most of them need help. But compared to his skeleton army, these mined goblins are nothing, and so he advances, ordering them to attack everyone there. We can see that the army easily handles the creatures, granting a massive amount of experience, which makes our protagonist realize it's 10 times more than monsters of the same level, so this place is truly a source of experience. It'll take only a few seconds to kill these creatures, so his strength will increase drastically as this progresses. And in the end, he can't let any of them escape, so he uses his mental map to detect them all. After a few eliminations, our protagonist finally levels up without any apparent difficulty. Soon it's said that he reached level 11 in just 5 minutes, and his spiritual energy was restored, allowing him to summon 4 more skeleton warriors. All of his basic attributes improve after level 10, however, it is seen that the points are increasing more and more after the 10th stage. It's clear that his warriors are also getting stronger as his level increases, and that's great for his development. But then he questions why all of his skills have improved except for the one he learned earlier. And so he sighs, thinking that his friend must know something she decided to hide so they could meet again in the future. Regretfully, a pressure passes over him, catching his attention. It's the Mind King Wolf, an elite leader of the area. Our protagonist thinks the attributes are pretty high and it seems close to being a boss of this dungeon, but it's still just one creature against several warriors. So he commands all of his skeletons to charge at the massive dog in front of them. The creature promptly lets out a roar while our protagonist thinks that the constitution of his warriors should be able to withstand the wolf's attack. Then, to increase damage, he uses the Fury Attack skill on all his summons to make the job easier, saying that the bigger the enemy, the more advantageous it is for the large numbers in his army. The creature uses another roar, which is blocked by one of the skeletons, while our boy states the power is weak but still capable of throwing his allies away. Then he's surprised to see that the leader ended up fleeing, questioning whether that's really fair in the end. But suddenly, he realizes something's wrong and immediately orders his summons to retreat. We then see that they were all surrounded by fierce level 14 mind wolves with not so high stats. The boy says they're not that strong, but their number is already over 100, so even a typical 5-person team wouldn't be enough to handle so many. However, he's a necromancer, and these creatures are mere experience points, and we can see that just one attack is enough to eliminate them. The boy promptly gathers energy in his hand, using Corpse Explosion to his advantage, saying that after his talent enhancement, the damage dealt by the skill will cause damage equal to 100% of the wolf's health, resulting in instant death. It's clearly seen that amid the explosions, our boy gained an overwhelming amount of experience, already reaching 72% of level 11. The young man then states that the leader of this pack will suffer the same fate to make up for fleeing earlier and trying to ambush him. And so it's clear that Corpse Explosion was used on it as well to destroy it. Our boy observes that only 15,000 experience was given, equivalent to 5 mind wolves, but the items dropped are still quite valuable. Storing them, he says he should find the dungeon boss if he keeps clearing this path so he can finish this challenge. And if he wants to complete these lower level areas in the future, he'll need experience, and it's clearly seen that the skeletons are eliminating other monsters. He gained a lot of experience in less than an hour, so at this pace, if he clears it a few more times, he'll even reach level 19. Then he says he'll see his sister again soon, and before that, he should reach level 12 after killing the creature that is the boss of the area. As expected, the constitution and strength of this monster are extreme and far above the stats of his skeletons. The boss monster promptly rises with extreme ferocity, then delivering an attack on our protagonist, who ends up using damage transfer to avoid taking any kind of injury from it. But it's clear that the skeleton can't survive it, and its skull begins to crack, and its entire body is then undone in the air at that moment. The boy promptly notices that the creature was able to defeat 2 of his skeletons with a single blow in the end. In the end, his constitution is only 120 points, and his defense is pathetic against a goblin king with 3,000 strength, and the damage is transferred naturally without being divided. So it's almost instant death, and apparently, our protagonist is ultimately his own weakness, and for that reason, he'll need to raise his own constitution. It's clearly seen that the boss is at least twice as strong as a skeleton overall, but not overwhelmingly so, because even if one can't compete, it's clear the young man has an entire army by his side. If the pace continues like this, he'll probably be able to defeat the monster with just a few more blows from his army. But suddenly, the creature jumps, throwing off all the skeletons that were clinging to its body. And upon landing, it uses the Tremor ability, which is much more powerful than the Wolf King's roar. The creature then uses Flame Breath, rapidly decreasing the constitution of the protagonist's army at an insane speed. The boy promptly commands them to return to the summoning space, as he must prevent it from using its abilities at all costs. And so he uses his Soul Flame to fire a beam of green energy at the creature, which then catches fire, while the boy thinks he doesn't have much spiritual power left, so he must take this chance to finish off the monster once and for all. Using the Fury Attack, he shouts that he's finally hit this boss dead on so he can finish it off with extreme speed. The system congratulates him for killing the goblin and earning 40,000 experience, and he reaches level 12. After evaluating, he believes it's enough to leave the dungeon. Even being a necromancer, his difference from a mage is very noticeable, so the Mantle of Wisdom may be useful, since it adds 10 points to both spirit and constitution. Besides the fact that he obtained a core worth at least 10,000 gold coins, more valuable than all the equipment combined, and says he reaped good rewards here. After leveling up and restoring his spiritual power, he can summon 4 more skeletons to his group, now totaling 60. With that done, it's finally time to leave, and he uses teleportation to return to the previous location. Everyone is surprised to see that he came out alive and even completed the dungeon, wearing the Mantle of Wisdom. The boy thinks that the dungeon cooldown is 12 hours, and he'll use the time to recover and avoid killing other monsters. This place showed him that his greatest weakness is his own body, but also taught him how to use his abilities in the best possible way. Corpse Explosion is great and practically a mass attack, while Soul Flame can interrupt even a nightmare-level boss who can't withstand it. After 12 hours, he ends up waking and says that his spiritual power has already recovered, and he's ready to summon 4 more skeleton warriors. As he gets close to the area, he notices that people often sleep outside, and it's rare to see them camping. But in the case of his friend, she seems to be the clumsy type who wanders around in the middle of the night. As he approaches, he notices a commotion and asks what's going on there. It's said that the Dynasty Guild is being unfair because they're not allowing anyone into the dungeon that everyone had been waiting for. And one of the men states that the young master is completing a quest inside, and therefore no one is allowed to enter until he's done. One person shouts that this is very selfish, but the mage promptly says he's being too noisy and attacks the man who was complaining. We can clearly see the man's body falling far away, creating a brief wave of smoke. And those nearby notice that he was killed without any chance to explain, killed in such a brutal way. The armored people say that a mere unknown professional deserves death, and if anyone dares, they can seek revenge at their guild base. Our boy approaches, asking what's going on, drawing the attention of the man who previously tried to scan him. Then it's explained that the Dynasty Guild needs the Goblin Chief's Crystal Core, which is a rare item, and their young master is trying to obtain it right now. They even posted a notice for all hunters, but that core is worth at least 30,000 coins, and they were only offering 10,000 as a reward. The boy asks what the item is used for, and the answer is that it can be crafted into a chief's ring, which raises all abilities by 1 level and increases stats by 10. It's the most powerful item below level 40, and the protagonist is surprised by that statement, saying it's something incredibly difficult to be in the hands of a rookie professional. Soon our boy promptly walks off, saying it doesn't matter who it is. No one is going to get in his way or interfere with his level farming. The mage is stomping on the corpse and saying their rookie without a guild dares to challenge them, asking if he has a death wish. Lin Moyu, however, with a serious tone, orders them to get out because they're getting in the way of his leveling. The older man promptly kicks the corpse, saying he must have hit his head, as he's messing with extremely powerful people. But the boy remains skeptical and orders them to get out of the way immediately because they're interfering. The redhead reads the protagonist, seeing he's a level 12 necromancer, and wonders what this class is about, but says he's too stubborn for a rookie. Everyone around him tells him to stay away from those people because they're unreasonable and will end up killing him without hesitation. However, the apparent leader of the area realizes that when looking at the protagonist, he feels nervous and questions why he's suffering so much in his presence. Preparing to attack, he says he'll kill him if he takes one more step forward in his direction. And our boy, without any hesitation, simply does as he was warned, stepping forward. The men quickly get ready, and the leader orders them to kill the protagonist immediately. The level 25 mage promptly raises a barrier, saying that no matter how strong his summon is, it won't even be able to kill him while standing still. But then he questions what kind of creature it could be and why it's so powerful, since his shield can withstand up to 5 attacks from a warrior of his level. Our boy activated the Fury ability, and the man thinks he'll die from the next blow that hits him. And suddenly, out of instinct, he ends up using the Fire Ring of Repulsion to push the corpse away from him. Then he yells for everyone to stop just watching and start attacking, while thinking he barely survived. A knight charges forward, saying he'll completely destroy the protagonist's summon without any difficulty. But upon being repelled, he questions how that's possible since he's many levels higher. The older man orders them to kill the summoner, since the summons will disappear afterward. And so the archers prepare, saying he dared to challenge the wrong guild, and that he'll die because of it. Everyone tries to shout for our protagonist to be careful and dodge, or he'll be brutally killed if hit. However, the young man raises his hand, summoning his skeletons to appear right then, protecting him with their weapons without any difficulty against those attacks. The archers question how that's possible, since summons shouldn't matter that much if the summoner's level is so low. The mage realizes this is extremely problematic, having to face numerous enemies all at once. So he decides to run back, ordering them to stall him as much as they can, and then uses Serpent Dance, a level 20 mage skill and the most powerful attack that can be learned at that level. When it hits, our boy remains unharmed in the middle of those flames that blind the vision of his opponent, who then smiles, boasting that the protagonist must have died in the fire. We can see the explosion starting to fade slowly, and the corpses remain still in place. And then they charge toward the guild, who are confused by how many there are, thinking to themselves they're being overwhelmed in numbers. The mage promptly raises his staff, ordering everyone to form up to launch an attack. We see that many blessings and buffs were applied to the entire team to try to deal with our protagonist, and the redhead thinks their guild is extremely experienced and knows how to work as a team, so they're unbeatable against a solo opponent. Our protagonist commands everyone to step back, and the bystanders obey, sweating cold. The boy promptly opens his hand using the soul flame at that moment, then throws it at one of the archers in a single strike to eliminate him without any trouble, while a woman tries to cast a healing spell. And the mage thinks it works, saying that the healers from the Dynasty guild are the best. However, the woman with her hand over her mouth says the archer is dead with no chance of getting back up. This shocks the leader even more, leaving him confused and questioning how that's possible. And he wonders if his group is really going to be wiped out by just one person. Our protagonist coldly orders all of his soldiers to attack those who are in the way. A knight promptly uses his shield to try to defend and protect the others. However, with the undead using the Furious Strike ability, it's impossible for him to hold for long. The mage shouts for help as fast as possible, questioning where the support and those who give blessings are. And suddenly, one of them ends up seeing a blue flame in front of him, questioning what it could be, until suddenly that fire spreads across his entire body, and we can clearly see that both of them are eliminated with extreme speed. The mage with his cloak states that everything is over there because their formation is breaking down little by little, and in desperation he orders everyone to run, saying that the bastard they're fighting isn't even human. Soon, a skeleton impales one of the men while our protagonist states that there's nowhere to escape from his army. And so he uses corpse explosion, explaining that after being enhanced by his talent, the enemies will take damage equal to 100% of their HP from the corpse explosions. Since a tank's health is often much higher than any other class, if the damage is 100% of their HP, no one will survive. One of the men tries to approach the leader, desperately begging for help, and we can clearly see his veins bulging as he watches his ally's body explode right in front of him. Terrified, the man can only fall backward, stating that what he's seeing is an image from hell and can't be real. Our boy keeps walking without any concern, watching the explosions happening around him. He wipes the blood from his face as he approaches the portal in front of him, and to completely eliminate any trace of what happened, he decides to use corpse explosion at that moment. The onlookers say that the members of the guild died, and not even the corpses were left behind. One of the men says they'll come back to kill anyone involved, so everyone should leave so they're not mistaken for accomplices, because no one will be able to find them. We then jump to half an hour later, where the apparent young master says he still hasn't obtained the Goblin King's core. One of his companions says something's very wrong because there's no one there, confusing the blonde who questions what happened to Xiaoju's group. Someone orders a message to be sent, saying that if they're nearby, they'll respond immediately. Feeling tense, the older man says he's sure something is wrong, because they may have been in a battle that didn't even leave traces of their corpses in the end. And that's why it's dangerous there, so they'll leave as quickly as possible to avoid anything bad from happening. Our protagonist, an hour later, is still killing the final boss of the area. We can see they even obtain a magic book from the monster, and while observing it, he thinks that another core didn't drop, so it really was a stroke of luck. But the magic book in his hands is quite useful, as it can improve his soul flame and corpse explosion, though it's useless for his skeleton warriors. He's already reached level 13, and experience points are getting harder to gather, so soon he'll need to finish the dungeon 3 more times to reach stage 15. That's a bit slower than he wanted it to be, but it should be enough to enter Xiajing Academy, so he uses teleportation. As soon as he leaves the place, he realizes that everyone had left, which was expected. After all, it's the best auction for them. The next day, we see Sui arriving at the location already at level 10, and she says she can finally challenge this mine. But then the girl is shocked to see Lin Moyu already there and entering the dungeon alone. She says she can't believe this is happening and that it'll be easy to find a team, so she won't lose to the protagonist. 45 minutes pass and our boy is already able to summon at least 72 skeletons at once. Extending his hand forward, he says it's time for this boss to finally wake up and face him. And in a comedic tone, he warns that the boss will always die in the end and should just accept it, because dying at the hands of the protagonist is extremely fast after all. 12 more hours later, the boy laughs, saying he only has to come back 3 more times, and by now they know each other very well, so it won't be a problem. After reaching level 14, he has a total of 76 skeleton warriors who have already raised their stats up to 2,300, and it's a shame he can't improve the skill of his army. Suddenly, someone approaches, calling out to our protagonist and clearly injured. It's Sui, who asks what level he's at now, and the young man replies that he's at stage 14. Upon receiving the answer, she is surprised and questions how it can be so fast since she's only at level 11 at the moment. She says that even if someone can solo a dungeon, there's no way to level up that quickly, and the gap between them is growing at an overwhelming pace. The girl states that she won't lose to him, and our young man watches Xia, wondering if she's going to enter again without having to wait for the cooldown. We can promptly see an hour later where she has already exited another dungeon and is out of breath, and then she yells that she's a level 11 mage looking for a team and thinks she needs to go a few more times. Our protagonist states that this girl is extremely competitive, though he hasn't found a chance to ask her a question. An hour later, she exits the place stating that she won't lose to Lin Moyu, who tries to call out to her. However, someone announces that they're about to enter the dungeon and only need a mage, and she immediately volunteers. Half an hour later, she arrives saying she's exhausted and that she finally reached level 12 and will soon catch up to our protagonist. The boy asks if she's not tired, to which she replies yes, saying she doesn't want to move a finger anymore, but still can't stop. Angrily, the girl says that after living in the protagonist's shadow for so many years, she will definitely surpass him this time, and the boy covers his face, thinking it's unnecessary. Soon, the girl says that she has to enter Xiajing Academy just like him, to which our protagonist replies that she should do it on nightmare difficulty to improve. However, the girl says it's impossible because she needs an elite team to complete it and would need professionals at level 17, and no one would accept her. With that in mind, our protagonist finally asks how she's able to ignore the dungeon's cooldown time, because Xui is surprised that he doesn't know how that's possible, since she thought he was really impressive. But then she says that if he asks nicely, she might even tell someone as gloomy as him, who stays silent. The girl says he's really no fun, then explains that she has a cooldown item that allows her to cancel the dungeon's timer. The boy thinks something like that is truly amazing to exist and sees that 3 of the 10 uses are already gone. He asks if that thing is expensive, and she says yes, because her father cried to get one of those. The girl says there are only 2 days left and she can still use it 7 more times, but she still has to go 9 more times to reach level 15, so she's going to die of exhaustion if she keeps going. Our boy watches the situation and stays silent for a moment, thinking things through. And he says he can team up with her if she shares the talisman, surprising her as she remembers he's able to complete the dungeon alone. So she says she'll accept the help and will make a good team with Lin Moyu, and even if she can't catch up soon, she'll surpass him someday. Our young man then tells her to rest because they'll go in 2 hours, and his companion takes the chance to enjoy a long nap and recharge. Lin Moyu, on the other hand, uses meditation to recover his spirit during this peaceful moment. As soon as they arrive at the portal, it's said that the 2 hours flew by unbelievably fast. The boy promptly uses the talisman and selects nightmare difficulty as usual. However, the girl is startled and wonders why he chose that, since it's very complicated. Upon entering, she realizes that the creature's stats are extremely high and questions if he selected it by mistake in the end. To which our protagonist tells her to stay close to him, making her question if the boy has gone crazy because they'll die if they move forward. But in her thoughts, she's sure he'll laugh if she tries to run away from the dungeon. Our young man tells her to walk a little faster and asks if she's scared, to which the girl yells no. And then she's surprised to see that the goblins and monsters are running away from the skeletons, as if they can't do any damage to those creatures. She then questions what the protagonist is doing, luring the monsters in a certain direction at that moment. Suddenly, she's shocked with wide eyes upon seeing something that leaves her completely paralyzed. It's the Mind Wolf King, which is twice the size of the normal version from the dungeon. We can see the bodies of goblins being thrown from above toward the enormous creature standing in front of them. And our protagonist takes advantage of this to use corpse explosions and thinks to himself that killing them and using the explosion will save a lot of time. The young girl is startled to see her experience increase by 30% in just an instant from that death. She questions what's going on since she's never seen anyone complete a dungeon like that or even heard of such a feat. And as soon as she sees the body already dead, since her last team took over 20 minutes to kill that Wolf King who now was killed in seconds. He then calls her to continue, and Xiaxui asks if he's completing nightmare-level dungeons alone. The girl asks if he's been doing this since level 10, to which our protagonist coldly replies yes without any hesitation. Only 10 minutes have passed since they entered, and they're already nearing the end at an overwhelming speed for this young girl. Previous teams took over an hour to reach the final boss, and our protagonist is doing it so easily it seems natural. And just like that, she notices the final dungeon boss was also killed in seconds by Lin Moyu. Following this, both of their experience bars grow, and it's visible that our boy suddenly leveled up to level 15. Then, upon observing her own bar, she states that the gap between them increased once again in the end. When checking the rewards, she notices there's a longsword instead of a staff, and our protagonist asks if she needs it. To which she says yes, since it's a unique item and the best one for those under level 20, but she'll have to ask her dad for money to buy it. But then she picks up the item our protagonist threw, which is actually the rarest object in that dungeon, the one she needed. Grateful, the girl asks if he doesn't need it, to which he says he has a spell book and doesn't like using a staff that much anyway. She says she didn't even notice where he got the book from and asks if the boy doesn't care about the stats weapons give. Our protagonist thinks that gathering corpses and blowing them up is the best option because it saved a huge amount of time, and with a few more runs he can reach level 16. Kneeling next to the boss, he apologizes, saying he'll have to eliminate it a few more times to get stronger. The girl then asks what he's doing since the monster can't understand him, to which he replies it's a habit of his that helps maintain his sanity. She looks at him and wonders who even apologizes to a boss, since that creature is there to kill them above all else after all. And then she states that our protagonist is a strange guy, but actually kind of cute, even with these horrible creatures. Our protagonist says they're leaving and continuing, and the girl follows him with a smile on her face. As soon as they're teleported back, the boy uses the artifact again, so they can go for another round. In the second dungeon, it's clear they got more equipment and even the girl looks happier. 5 runs have already passed, and just with that, our protagonist has gained a massive amount of experience. The girl says the talisman is finally depleted, and there's still a day and a half left until the exam, meaning they can still clear it 2 more times. Then Suexu says the protagonist is close to leveling up and could really end up being a champion in the end. It's explained that if he earns enough points, he could be very useful at Xijing University and might even get a chance to enter the University of Creation. They say that's the elite of the elite, to the point where the best member of the city of Xihad got in and was the only one who could. She believes our protagonist could be the second, and director Liu would smile with extreme happiness because of it. In the end, our boy wants to enter Xijing because his sister is there, but he'll take a look if he gets the opportunity. The girl quickly notices the protagonist's friend, who is struggling to find a group to enter the dungeon because he's a level 11 knight. Lin Moyu notices this and says they'll take him along, and the girl agrees with an excited smile. We're then taken to another place where an older man shouts, questioning why the dungeon was shut down since it could have caused a war among the country's powers. For a few days, it's better to stay at the guild since he managed to reach level 16 and still has to wait for the exams. The blonde guy asks what they're going to do about Jiaoji, who has been missing for a while, and admits he's worried about the situation. And the old man says he found someone who will be able to track him down, and if an unknown person did something, they'll have to face the consequences. The blonde, on the other hand, notices his friends are together at that moment, and so he assumes they might be on some kind of date, which irritates the girl, who says she'll tear him to pieces if he keeps it up. The youngest says there's no need to take it seriously, and she explains that they're taking him into a dungeon and he'll be able to reach level 12 before the exam. In tears, the boy thanks them because the university he dreams of requires a minimum of stage 12, so passing the exam won't be a problem. The girl says she won't take him if he keeps acting weird, and the blonde apologizes, saying that if she ordered his death, he'd carry it out on the spot. The girl keeps getting irritated, so the boy decides to change the subject, asking how long is left before their cooldown ends. She replies that it'll be at least 10 hours before they can enter the dungeon again and complete the challenge. Realizing this, the knight says he'll go kill some wild monsters and wishes our protagonist luck in winning Siexu's heart. The girl, annoyed, throws a fire blast at her insolent companion, who keeps making those remarks. Desperate, the other guy runs off, fleeing the fire blast amid laughter. Suexu says he's a complete idiot, and our protagonist says he's just the type who likes to tease, so she doesn't need to worry so much about what he says. 10 hours later, the blonde guy says they must have chosen the wrong difficulty since this one is nightmare level, to which the girl tells him to just go with the flow. And with a confident tone, she says she's not going to be only one impressed by our protagonist's abilities anymore. The blonde immediately says that in nightmare difficulty, a monster could easily kill him, and the girl tells him not to hide behind a mage since she has even less defense than he does. Meanwhile, our protagonist uses his corpse explosion to eliminate the dungeon boss quickly and without any trouble. His companion says it's absurd because a creature like that needs a whole group of people to be killed, and even then, it's difficult, though the girl says it's not that serious. The knight promptly says he'll be the protagonist's lackey, asking to be taken on future raids. And in a comedic tone, he says he has no pride left since he can't be the knight type when his boss is right there in front of him. Our boy says he can let go now, implying he'll take him along, and then thinks just one more dungeon run and he'll reach level 16, with his companions at levels 15 and 12. After that, it's just a matter of time until the great university exam begins. Sometime later, we see the top of the wall where one of the men says today is the children's return day. Owen says she's imagining the results, and another old man says the 2 geniuses from Old Lu's Academy are aiming for Xijing University. And the bearded man responds that it's true because his 2 best students must have at least reached level 15 to achieve that feat. Then in thought, he says one is the brother of a girl with a legendary class, and the other is the pride of the Xia family, so they might be able to create a miracle. Someone starts approaching, a level 12 gladiator, which surprises the head of his academy at that moment. Another person approaches, a stage 13 eagle-eyed archer, impressing everyone there for having reached such a high standard. The elders begin to argue, and one of them says levels don't mean anything because the important part is the exam results, and no one above level 14 has shown up. Then it's said that Director Lu's students are taking a long time, and they assume something might have happened to them. However, the 3 of them promptly approach the area, radiating a powerful aura. The bearded man says it's great news that they've returned safe and sound and asks what level they've reached. The mage and the knight managed to reach levels 12 and 15 in that short period of time in an exceptional way. All the elders are impressed because the girl managed to have an 80% chance of entering Xijing University, making the old man very proud. However, our protagonist is the most surprising one, as he is a level 16 necromancer, shocking everyone present, because he accomplished an unbelievable feat for the 2nd time in a row in this era, and one of the elders notes that they must have completed a dungeon non-stop and looks at the equipment. They're wearing items from the Goblin Chief set, which are rarely dropped during the waves of that wretched place. The elder promptly says they should get on a bus that's heading straight to the academy and thinks to himself that these youths have left the elders completely astonished. Our protagonist keeps in mind that it's plausible to aim for first place to get into the creation seminary, as entry is guaranteed. The next day, his spiritual energy is fully recovered, and he has a total of 100 skeletons with 2,500 status points, making him physically at his peak. The blonde, upon seeing our boy, raises his hand and calls him using the honorific boss. His companion also notices him and is surprised for a moment. He then asks if they're ready, and the reply is yes, since he's been preparing for a long time. The girl says they'll meet again at Xujing University, and the young man agrees. It's said that with this teleportation stone, everyone will be sent to the exam area, and they should prioritize their safety during the process because their lives are what matter most. In the center of Jiangning province, our boy states that there are tens of thousands of people gathered there at that moment, and suddenly, the test tower shouts that it is being activated. Then it states the exam rules. They must not talk or ask questions, and unnecessary infractions will result in disqualification. Two people begin to talk, questioning whether it's really not allowed to even ask questions at any time. And then the tower immediately disqualifies them for strictly violating the rules. Our protagonist says that his friend must have realized this quickly, saying that it's a good sign after all. It is then explained that the test tower will give tasks according to their professions. Combat types will face extreme battles against powerful creatures. Support types will face adverse situations where they must prove their worth. After completing the basic tasks, they can choose one of 3 difficulty levels in order to complete their tasks. It's then said that the exam points will determine whether they are selected for the universities they aim for, and the score is more valuable than gold coins. They are allowed to use any kind of equipment, but support items are strictly prohibited, and their storage will be sealed during the event. They are then instructed to form a line to enter the tower, and our protagonist realizes that participants across the country must number in the millions at this point. And upon realizing this, he notes that this place doesn't resemble the dungeon he's been facing, as it is filtered according to his class. The examiners above say that the necromancer should be classified as a rare type mage for now, as they've never seen one before. Our young man is impressed when he sees that his enemy will be a sorcerer-type creature. Then the system informs him that he must eliminate it as quickly as possible, and our protagonist notices that he cannot see the monster's stats. The boy says that kind of thing doesn't matter, and so he prepares his soul flame at that moment. He then completely incinerates the creature, not giving it any chance to counterattack. The examiner is surprised to see that the boy reached a historic time of 0.1 seconds, qualifying it as an instant kill. One of the examiners approaches because he heard talk of a new profession, and another man says there's no stable way to assess the capacity of that profession yet. The old man, realizing this, says he should increase the level, and in the second test, the difficulty should be of legendary class. If he fails, they'll award 100 points to the first place. But if he passes the second test, then the elder himself will give him 1,000 bonus points as compensation. We then see a level 20 werewolf sorcerer appear in front of our boy. Quickly extending his hand, the boy uses the soul flame to eliminate the creature. Everyone is surprised to see that it was defeated with a single strike, and the elder decides there's no need to continue, so we should proceed to the next stage. The tower announces that the first phase of the exam has ended, and out of 10,000 people, only 5,000 have passed, and the results will be announced. And the girl observes this and realizes that our protagonist is truly absurd for having finished with a time of 1 second and won't let herself be defeated. The blonde, on the other hand, questions why he's not among the top ranks since he should be in first place and assumes there must be a mistake. However, our protagonist wonders if he went overboard, and the tower informs them that the second round may cost them their lives, so they must consider their limitations. In case of danger, they can shout for resistance. They will keep their points, and our protagonist realizes that this round is about killing the most monsters in 30 minutes. Wang Zihao, the level 16 berserker, decides he'll kill a monster on infernal difficulty to earn 5 times more than the normal level and reach first place. Asura, on the other hand, realizes that mages aren't good at close combat or effective against very strong enemies, so her victory lies in quantity. All the examiners calmly observe the participants, since most of them are choosing infernal difficulty due to confidence in their current levels. However, none of them know which difficulty the necromancer Lin Moyu chose, and a man says he wants to see it too. Our boy smiles and states that the candidates will have a hard time fighting continuously for 30 minutes. But he is an exception, and therefore selects infernal difficulty with extreme confidence. All the examiners notice this and say the protagonist must be capable of reaching the top ranks. After all, this young man seems like he came from heaven. Student elite werewolf warriors are brought in to fight them, all level 13, which doesn't surprise our boy. He says their stats are extremely low and claims that candidates wouldn't have a chance to eliminate creatures of this level, then uses his ability. Immediately, his level 16 skeleton warriors are summoned to the battlefield to fight, and the boy easily eliminates the creatures while thinking it takes 5 seconds for others to appear, so 2 skeletons are more than enough. Everyone is shocked to see that his summons are extremely powerful, and that this new class is far stronger than anyone had imagined. The blonde, eyes burning, yells for everyone to come at him, and the administrators think he doesn't know how to manage his energy. In the end, even Xue, who chose an easier difficulty, is currently one level above him. However, everyone ends up seeing that our protagonist is simply sitting down eating while his summons do the fighting, and they make a note of it. The oldest examiner says the boy is quite interesting after all. Then Wang Zihao declares that it's finally over and he must have eliminated 50 infernal difficulty monsters, assuming that first place is his. Panting, he asks the tower to show the rankings right away as he's extremely confident in his skill. But then he's shocked to find out he's in 4th place again and wonders how this discrepancy is happening between 1st and 2nd place. Since the respawn time of each monster is 5 seconds, it's only possible to kill 12 in a minute, so he would need to kill 5 every minute to get 1800 points. But our protagonist completely exceeded this by eliminating 301 almost instantly. The elders are amazed by this, saying that their student is utterly ridiculous and admit that even Su Kaingui, who was extremely talented, only got 700 points. On the other hand, it's revealed that the 3rd round will be a boss fight, and so he chooses Nightmare difficulty to eliminate it with ease. Soon, the werewolf captain appears at level 15 with very low stats, and our boy says it doesn't even compare to the monsters in the Exehai Mine dungeon. Now he understands that they can't send monsters of that difficulty, which disappoints him, so he commands more skeletons to emerge from the shadows. On the other side of the arena, we see the blonde laughing while his eyes burn with excitement from the fight taking place. Elsewhere, Sui is fighting the creatures from a distance since she's an elemental mage taking advantage of her long range. Meanwhile, another person uses their invisibility skill to hide from the monster and strike with a critical hit when the chance arises. However, our protagonist once again kills the creature instantly, and has proven that his summons can even use skills. They can't even evaluate the true extent of his power, so they decide to wait until the 5th test round to see how far he can go. However, our protagonist, upon observing the list, notices that his friend Gao Yang is also giving his best, having reached rank 670 even as a knight. Then it is announced that the 4th round of testing will begin, where the enemies will be enhanced, and they must choose whether to give up or continue. The blonde, noticing this, realizes that this is his chance to shine and reach 1st place, finally entering the place he longs for. With the current rankings, they won't have any trouble entering the top 100 universities of the Empire, so he will respect those who chose not to give up. Each person will face 10 waves of monster attacks, totaling 100 enemies, and after 1 minute, more monsters from the next wave will appear. The last wave will be composed of a boss monster, and only those who kill all creatures will pass the test. Each enemy is worth a total of 10 points, and upon completing all levels, the score will be doubled at the end, allowing for a total of over 2,000. We can see that there are beastly warriors, mages, and even experienced fighters among them. The elders want to see how our protagonist will perform in this test, since the best way to defeat a summoner is to eliminate him. However, the elder believes that this round won't be enough to stop Lin Moyu, as he has an extremely positive feeling. And with that, our boy says this is the time for his army to start warming up and eliminate the creatures ahead. 3 skeletons are more than enough to handle the creatures in front. To eliminate the mages, our protagonist uses his soul flame to prevent them from reviving their allies. With a single attack, it's enough to make the creature scream and writhe in its final moments of death. Everyone is impressed that the young man was able to make a 3rd summon, and they say the stronger he becomes, the happier they are to see his growth. Our young man even yawns, saying that this test is too easy and doesn't come close to the thrill he felt the first time he entered the Exehai Mine dungeon. The men say this is getting boring, so they'll stop watching him and focus on the other participants, to which another person agrees. We then see Xue, who thinks that a mage's strengths lie in area attacks and long-range combat, so she'll do very well in this round. On the other hand, Wang Zihao is proving to be a true berserker, eliminating the creatures with extreme ease while his eyes glow. The participants say this is insane, as the protagonist is absurdly powerful, with skeletons that kill everything in their path. Gao Yan says that's his boss and starts telling the story of how he soloed in nightmare-level dungeon, which makes everyone call him a liar. In the end, only 5 people made it to this stage of extreme difficulty. One of them is Feng Shu, a holy swordsman who knows the rules of this class very well, and because of that, is achieving excellent evaluation. On the other hand, Wang Zihao used his berserker ability, which increases his strength by 500% for 5 minutes, but decreases his speed by 200%. It's clear that with this massive power boost, he's able to eliminate the monsters far more easily than before. However, our protagonist, on the other hand, states that the final wave of monsters has finally arrived, and eliminates it without any difficulty. Then a man announces that the 4th round of testing is over, and only 5 candidates remain, showing the ranking board, where our protagonist takes 1st place, and everyone is shocked to see it, since the 4th round was already hell, and they can't even imagine how the 5th will be. The blonde states that according to his calculations, the final stage will determine the winner of this round. The girl says she's among the top 5, so she should be able to enter Xia Jing Academy without any trouble. And we see Zuomei, who has the same goal and is giving her all to get into that university. But the man says they must give it their best or they will disappear among the eliminated. And if they want to enter that university, they must push themselves. Our protagonist and his companions state that the moment has finally come, and the rules for the 5th round will now be revealed. They will be taken to a special place called the Battle Space, where there will be over 100 monsters per round, including captains and bosses. Everyone must pay attention to the pace of their eliminations and the change in score, as this place is divided into 5 stages, and each stage grants different points. When they enter that place, the examiners will only be able to see their score changes, so if they have any aces up their sleeves, now is the time to use them. We then see a chart explaining each round, the points obtained, and especially the level of the creatures. Upon arriving, our protagonist realizes he can feel a deathly aura and assumes an unimaginable war must have taken place there. He concludes that this is meant to simulate a more advanced and true battlefield, where death happens at every moment. And when analyzing the creatures, he notices he can only see their levels, without any information about their stats or abilities. Looking up, he notices that the sound is coming from other monsters calling out to their companions. When one of his skeletons attacks, it can't kill the enemy immediately, so he concludes their constitution must be higher than expected. But that's not a problem, because he can easily land a second blow to finish them off without issue. And as soon as he does, he uses corpse explosion to clear the surrounding area. The examiners are shocked to see that Lin Moyu has already taken action and gained 500 points, killing 10 monsters in the first stage. Our young man laughs, stating that they use their roars to attract enemies, and in that case, he'll have to wait for the rest of the monsters to come. But then he notices that the corpse is disappearing, which means his skill will become useless, since they vanish after 10 seconds. So he realizes he'll need to slightly change his strategy to eliminate the creatures more efficiently. Deploying 9 skeletons, he gives the order to gather the remaining monsters into one spot. And once that's done, one of the skeletons attacks the monsters to leave them with low health. With all of them successfully grouped, our protagonist uses corpse explosion at that exact moment, creating a wave of destruction that completely wipes out the creatures without any difficulty. Everyone is shocked to see the protagonist do something unbelievable they couldn't even witness. His score increased by 4,500 all at once, as if he had killed 100. The Elder admits that the necromancer class is extremely powerful and wonders what the true extent of his power is at this point. Observing the arena, he clearly notices there's no need to wait a full minute for the creature to respawn like in the previous round. Suddenly, he looks up and sees massive fireballs coming at him out of nowhere. He immediately commands his skeletons to shield him from the attack so he won't take any serious damage. The creatures are able to withstand the blow without any difficulty, and none of them are destroyed or even break formation. It's revealed that the attackers are level 16 lizardmen sorcerers using a skill called Fire Rain, and our boy says they've finally shown up and he's going to take advantage of it to start his turn. The horde quickly begins charging toward our protagonist to take him down. However, his army positions itself in front, ready to annihilate any threat that approaches their master. The skeletons swiftly begin defeating them without any difficulty, while Lin Moyo keeps walking forward with confidence. It becomes very clear that the warriors are able to destroy the monsters without any struggle. And our young man takes advantage of this to use corpse explosion, eliminating all the monsters that have been killed through a consecutive wave of thousands of explosions. Everyone is shocked to see the protagonist's score jump by 6,000 in an instant. They assume it's due to area attacks, which are incredibly powerful. The elders even begin to argue that this class has surpassed the legendary level, though one of them says they can't make that claim yet, since being strong at a low level doesn't necessarily mean much. The boy looks ahead with a serious expression, realizing that the death aura has grown heavier, signaling the start of the second phase. There are at least 40 groups of beastmen scattered throughout the area. Each group is at a higher level than the last, and their numbers have even doubled, but that won't be a problem. Back with the examiners, they say they haven't seen anything like this in 100 years, and Lin Moyu truly has skills that are considered insane. It's suspected that he has awakened his innate talent, making him a great blessing to the human race, something that only happens once in decades. It quickly becomes clear that our protagonist has already reached 34,000 points at once after the previous events. And everyone is shocked to realize that he has entered the second phase, since a monster in that round is worth 100 points, and he just killed more than 100 in one go. Soon we are taken to Xijing, the capital of the Divine Summer Empire. We then see the true body of the test tower floating in the middle of the city. From afar, a dark aura begins to approach the place, causing even the animals in the street to sense its presence. A sudden attack begins to fly toward the tower, which shouts, asking who would dare to make such a reckless move. It then forms a huge golden hand to defend itself, while the shadow declares that the facility cannot stop its attack at this moment. We soon see both energies clash, creating a strong shockwave in the area. The tower's system questions whether the creature desires death and charges toward it using the golden hand. The beast, on the other hand, says this is merely a clone, so it can be killed if desired. However, there are still people inside the test after all. Suddenly, the golden hand crushes the creature's head, eliminating it with relative ease. People are flying around stating they didn't expect the remnants of the Abyss to launch a stealth attack, targeting the children who are the future of the country. They even infiltrated the space tomb inside the tower, which is derived from the Abyss itself, thus benefiting them. The man known as Bai Yuan says that time is not on their side, and one of the men replies that it will take an hour to adjust things on this end. Our protagonist wonders what's going on and what happened to the monsters that suddenly disappeared. Then someone steps forward and catches his attention, appearing familiar. It's Shui, making our protagonist question in his thoughts what happened, since he should be meeting other candidates. The girl explains that she was killing monsters when they suddenly vanished, and our protagonist admits he's not sure what's happening, as this situation is abnormal. Suddenly, other people arrive at the scene, one of them being Wang Zihao, who asks what's going on. Suvan, the one known as God Bai, appears floating and urgently asks the children to listen to him. The elders outside question why this being has appeared, as they don't understand what's happening inside the battle space. Then the oldest one explains that demons from the abyssal world have invaded the battlefield, and they are working to correct this space's rules, which will take 1 hour. Suri is shocked as she sees no way they can survive, but the man reassures her, saying that if they join forces, they can endure against the abyss. He then declares that the children of Shenzhou will not fear battle or death. Seeing this opportunity, Wang Zihao raises his sword, saying they must not fear what lies ahead. He takes on the role of a leader, and everyone begins to cheer and shout the motto spoken by God Bai at that exact moment. Lin Moyu thinks that the weakest monsters from the abyss are around level 70, but if a man like that says they can win, it must mean the enemies aren't truly powerful. On the other side, the elders say the abyss is targeting the purpose of the Great Exam, which is to find the best of humanity, currently in the 5th round. And one of the elders tells them to stay calm. They must not panic and must believe in the White God. Slowly, everyone begins to calm down. One of the students points upward, saying that the blood moon of the abyss has finally appeared, and its power is starting to move toward them. All the knights step forward to protect the others, but the presence declares that this is nothing impressive, because in the end, they will all die. 1 hour is more than enough to eliminate them, though it's a pity it won't be able to savor the delicious bodies these humans possess. Our protagonist watches the monster approaching, a level 19 abyss-infected orc warrior. People begin to calm down and feel confident, knowing there are level restrictions in the war zone, and they might be able to handle it if everyone is united. But then they are shocked to realize that an enormous number of these creatures are appearing, at least elite monsters, enhanced to their maximum. Sui asks our protagonist what he's going to do, to which he replies that it's troublesome, but they can still handle it. In the end, what matters is the experience. They can gain a lot of experience from these monsters, especially since they are enhanced and receiving various mutations in their bodies. The voice laughs, realizing they are afraid, and says that God Bai may have told them to stay united, but they can't face a force of 100 that eliminates one by one. Wang Zihao promptly states that he can't move because their auras are making his body stop responding to his commands. Meanwhile, the others on the podium draw their weapons, preparing for a battle that seems difficult. Our protagonist steps forward with confidence, and his army begins to advance without any fear. Shu questions what he's doing, since there are about 100 level 19 elite monsters there and he can't handle that. However, our protagonist tells his friend to go back, which she firmly refuses. He then says she can do whatever she wants since it won't affect him either way. The others notice that he's a level 16 necromancer and question whether those summons belong to him. They want to join him but remain afraid. Even so, they overcome their own despair to try to follow our protagonist, who looks in their direction. The girl declares that the people of Shengxia will fear neither war nor death as long as they continue breathing. The presence laughs, saying someone really wants to die, calling him brave and claiming he could be considered worthy of becoming a slave to the Demon King. It then says as a proposal that our protagonist won't be able to refuse. The gates of the abyssal world will always be open to him. Lin Moyu, with a smile, says he's about 50 meters away, and that's more than enough distance for his ability. Everyone is surprised that he stopped and questions the reason for it. Our protagonist, however, raises his hand surrounded by blue flames, saying that here is already enough for him. He then summons his entire army from the shadows to aid him in this difficult confrontation. A total of 100 are summoned, shocking all the other test participants, since this class is truly unique. The spy admits the speed is incredible, as even with a class focused on speed, she can't compare to these monsters. It's seen that with a single furious strike, the army can handle the monsters without any difficulty. However, some of them remain alive and even manage to counter the skeleton's attacks at that moment. And we can see that their constitution has dropped, which our protagonist estimates must be around 3,000 strength. He then thinks that for them to withstand attacks, a creature's constitution must be around 3,500, which is perfect for using corpse explosion, since it gets stronger. As soon as one is eliminated, we see our boy gain the equivalent of 8,000 experience, which is a good amount at that moment. He then uses corpse explosion to eliminate them easily and gather all the points for himself. And with that, a flash appears in the sky, marking the beginning of something much greater. Everyone wonders what happened, since the body that was there has now vanished amid a blast of energy. Then it's revealed that those who die by explosion turn into another larger blast afterward, like a chain effect. They are shocked that he killed them all and question what kind of ability that is and why it's so powerful. The Berserker asks how Lin got so strong and says he should have awakened that class instead of his own, and everyone around agrees that the young man is incredible. The president says that's impossible, that kind of power shouldn't exist in the world, and declares that the protagonist has angered him and he will drink and feast on his flesh to make up for it. Soon the moon begins to emit dark energy, causing several monster hordes to appear around the area. The spirit questions what he'll do to deal with this, since everyone there is going to die in this moment. However, our boy stares at the moon, stating that the demonic presence must be in that place, and his skeleton warriors withstand all kinds of attacks and eliminate the creatures coming to the area. Then our protagonist takes the opportunity to launch a corpse along with himself toward the enormous floating orb, which is the moon. The demon says he's a lunatic and questions what he's doing at that exact moment. On the other hand, our protagonist uses that corpse beside him as an extremely powerful attack, and once the barrier breaks, he uses the soul flame to strike the monster in a single hit. Our boy is surprised he didn't kill it immediately like he did before. However, the demon questions what kind of ability this is and why it can feel its soul burning, saying that it's impossible for such a profession to exist in this world. On the other hand, our young man lands on the ground with extreme elegance and firmness. Thus, he declares that if one invades the battlefield, then they must pay the price of not being prepared for death. On the other side, an old man can be seen surprised by sensing something unusual. The Abyss's interference force is weakening at a terrifying speed, as if something truly happened. Furious, the Elder God questions whether all the candidates inside the tower have died, and if so, he will eliminate whoever is responsible. However, the Older One says he can feel the life aura of many human beings, and the Demon King's consciousness aura has returned much weaker and was injured. Promptly, Godbai admits that he was startled for a moment, and the old man tells him not to release his killing aura like that as it is extremely terrifying. Soon, Godbai says this is strange and questions who could be capable of injuring him, since all the candidates are currently between level 15 and 16. The demon keeps screaming that he will kill the protagonist, repeatedly summoning all of his minions at that moment to eliminate him. It can be seen that even the others who were being attacked change their focus at that exact moment to head toward our protagonist, who is frightened by the fact that his corpse explosion has leveled up and wonders if it's because he used it repeatedly. To test it, he decides to watch the army coming toward him while declaring that this is the right moment to shine. At that moment, our boy managed to level up tremendously due to those corpse explosions. Everyone is shocked by that as he is using these strange creatures to rise in stage and thus states that they are safe thanks to him. Our boy promptly orders his army to throw the bodies toward the moon, and once done, he says the presence cannot escape. The Demon King promptly states that he will remember him and that once he reaches the abyss, he will punish him. But he is soon interrupted by our protagonist's corpse explosion, which causes immense damage at that moment. The battlefield returns to normal and everyone is surprised to realize they managed to win. Outside, the old man states that the abyss's consciousness has been completely eradicated in this whole situation. Even the tower is managing to restore itself at this moment, and because of that, Old Bai asks how the children are doing. He has answered that there were no victims, which impresses him. After all, he didn't expect such a feat to happen and wonders what occurred inside. For safety, they will teleport the children back while reconstructing what happened within the battlefield. Shui asks if our protagonist is okay, with an almost romantic tone, to which he responds that he is. Soon, Godbai appears as a hologram saying they will be sent back to the testing site, where the results of this important test will be announced. The girl says she couldn't even damage those monsters and says it was incredibly lucky to have our protagonist by her side in that situation. Soon, everyone heads to the main combat exam where they are being evaluated and awaiting their scores. The old man says that's the least of it since academies have high standards and these evaluations will have to be carefully analyzed. He wonders what exactly happened in there, but is more curious to see how far our boy managed to go during all this time. The examiners can be seen observing the scene of what occurred within the space. Godbai realizes that our protagonist is someone extremely powerful while watching him on the big screen. His existence was only recently discovered and he didn't expect his class to be so strong after all, stating that he may have even awakened stronger talents. The others say this year's evaluation is a bit difficult, but with the exception of Lin Moyu, all others will need to be discussed gradually. Soon, the big screen is shown where the protagonist ranked first with the maximum score and excellent level. Director Liu starts to get emotional and shouts the protagonist's name while his friends say he will brag about this for over 20 years. The girl congratulates him, saying that the young man really managed to get the highest score in the province, and our boy gives a small smile in gratitude. However, this reaction is unusual for Xiaxu, who watches him calmly. And then, in a comedic tone, she says that he looks really good being happy like that and asks why he doesn't do it more often. The old man is also impressed to see that Su came in second place, and her companions congratulate and even envy her at that moment. The others had similar scores, however, Wang Ziha was the only one who did poorly on the test. The man questions why this is happening, as not even the top 20 academies will accept him if this is his result. He then shouts that he does not accept it and questions why his evaluations are so bad without any kind of evidence. The tower, realizing that he violated the rules, immediately disqualifies him. Soon the officials state that the student with the highest score this year was Lin Moyo. We can see Gao Yan celebrating that his leader is truly incredible for achieving something of that level without any kind of injury. But then the officials ask everyone to be quiet because they still need to deliver one more title, coming directly from the Imperial Order to our protagonist. He has become the top national scorer of this year, surprising everyone present at that moment. Even director Lu wonders if he heard it wrong, as this is something truly incredible. And so he starts ascending to the skies, questioning if it's really true, while his companions tell him to be careful not to die in the process. The other students become extremely excited that our protagonist achieves something of such a high level and start shouting his name. Soon, the other candidates recognized as excellent approach to congratulate him on his result and thank him for the help he gave them. They both say they will meet again at Xiajing Academy and will treat him to a good meal. Sui says that he's a guy who doesn't talk much, and even though they've been classmates for 3 years, they haven't exchanged more than 10 words in total. However, our protagonist seriously states that he has used a total of 26 sentences with her so far, and this leaves her embarrassed while the others chuckle slightly, realizing they actually have a great relationship. We see our protagonist's house, where he says he'll be going to the same academy as his sister and announces to his grandmother that he got the best national score. Soon, there is a knock at the door calling for him at that moment. When he opens it, he realizes it's Director Lu and asks why he's there in that exact situation. And suddenly, he feels an overwhelming presence coming from behind the man, turning what seemed to be a simple visit into something much more intense. The boy states that with such a terrifying aura, he can't even breathe as easily as before. Soon, his skeleton comes out of the summoning to immediately protect him from this potential attack. However, God Bai says that he had a good reaction and then suppresses his own aura at that moment. The boy promptly shows respect by bowing and greeting the 2 men who were there at that moment. This important man came to talk about matters regarding Xiajing Academy and notices that our protagonist is calm, serene, and has excellent instinctive reactions. Soon it begins to turn to dusk amidst the boy's situation at that moment. The director asks not to mind since the protagonist's sister is currently at the academy, meaning he has been living alone for this past year. This god knows very well that having both siblings entering such a notable academy is something extremely rare after all. And upon observing the skeleton warrior of our protagonist, he questions how his attributes can only be at 250 despite fighting against unbelievable monsters. The young man is impressed, as apparently others cannot see the attributes enhanced by his passive skill. Soon, the man promptly asks what talent was awakened, and the boy explains that it's something related to amplification that increases the level of all his abilities and stats. The man now understands how everything makes sense and says he has 2 things to discuss. First, a reward, and second, taking him to the academy. Our young man asks what kind of test will take place in the coming days, which was mentioned by the elder, and is told that not many details can be revealed. Lin Moyu is surprised that it's up to him to decide, and since it's such a secret, then the nature of this objective must not be ordinary. The man explains that he can't say much, but this test is a very rare opportunity, and originally he wouldn't even have been able to participate in it, and our young man accepts. Soon the man laughs, saying he will now hand over the rewards for the national first place, which apparently are some skill scrolls. The old man first hands over a card with 100,000 points due to his score, where such a score is worth more than gold coins at the academy. And the second part consists of skill scrolls that are extremely rare even for the most experienced. As for the third item, it cannot be given at the moment, as it will depend on his performance in the battlefield space of the Summer Divine Tower, being something very precious. Our young man understands this and then states that for Lord Bai to be reminding him of it, it must be something extremely important to do in that tower. The man tells him to get ready because he will take him to Xiujing Academy. And outside, the director says goodbye to our protagonist, wishing him good luck on his journey. As soon as the teleport is completed, we can finally see the facility of what the academy looks like, the one Lin Moyu always wanted to enter. The young man looks at the gate, impressed by the architecture of the place for a moment. And so God Bai decides to explain that the entrance is a kind of weapon that even high-level specialists would pay a price to try and force their way in. It soon explained that this is the residential area where he will stay, and someone will come to guide him the next day when a person approaches. This red-haired boy questions the identity of our protagonist, since God Bai is being extremely cordial and even polite to this person in front of him. The redhead asks if he is Lin Moyu, and asks where he would like to stay during this month. They have several dormitory options for 4 people, 2 people, or 1 person, each with a different quantity and a huge price difference. His boy says that our protagonist should save his points because he'll need to use them later, to which the young man agrees and chooses his single-person room. The redhead is surprised by that and asks if he's sure in the end since earning points isn't exactly easy, to which our young man says yes. As soon as they arrive at the place, the boy is going to scan his identity card to register the payment. The machine deducts a total of 2,000 points, but then the boy is shocked to see that our protagonist has more than 133,000 points at the moment. The boy says that it's a reward for being the national champion, surprising the other, who says he must really be someone powerful to have achieved such a feat. And with a smile, he says that this room is now his dorm and tells him to get good rest and not forget to pick up the communication device. Our young man looks out the window and notices people practicing their skills, and in this kind of atmosphere, he thinks leveling up will be pretty quick. The next day, someone rings the doorbell, causing him to end his meditation. And a familiar face asks if Lin Moya remembers her, to which our young man says he would never forget someone like her. Soon they both head out, and the assassin says she's taking him to grab some breakfast and show him around the academy. At the cafeteria, we see that our protagonist is grabbing a bit of food while his friend is piling her tray high. The girl is surprised that he's using points to pay and tells him not to because they accept coins at that location. Our young man says he doesn't have money, which makes the girl say she'll lend him some whenever needed, but he shouldn't waste points since they're hard to earn. Luckily, only 5 points were spent, but then she notices something that catches her attention. It's the fact that our protagonist has such a massive point total, which leaves her speechless for a moment. As they leave, the girl explains that he should use coins instead of points in places where that's allowed. Even if he has a lot, it's good to save them for various situations. Our young man has just handed over a gift, the core of the Goblin King, which is an extremely rare item. The girl says it's worth a huge amount of gold, and he could sell it for over $1 million. And she asks if he's really giving it to her just like that. Our protagonist says yes because she's a good friend to him, which makes the girl completely blush, and she says she won't refuse it, no matter what. After some time, they end up exploring the whole place, and our protagonist gets to know all the areas of the academy. The girl promptly explains that the enrollment procedures are complete, but Lin Moyu asks why he can't see information about his sister. She says that she might be on a confidential mission from the academy, and she may have entered a more specialized school, such as the Divine Creation faculty. The girl says he doesn't need to worry because nothing will happen, and so Lin Moya becomes more confident about heading to the main location. As they enter, the young woman calls for her sister Tao Tao, saying that she brought the national champion there. The girl promptly introduces herself as an elven knight of level 23, to which our young man replies that he's a necromancer of level 17. However, a mage nearby says he must be joking because he can't go around bringing people with no value into this place as if they were important. Everyone around tells him to watch his words because the protagonist got the highest score on the national exam. However, the boy says that compared to them, that means nothing. He's seen the previous scores, and they were all just a bunch of trash. He then approaches the protagonist, saying that he may have been introduced by Mr. Bai Shen, but he shouldn't think he can do whatever he wants just because he has strong connections. In his Hidden Dragon team, everything's about strength, and if the other dares to come along in this trial, then he better keep his mouth shut and not make noise or get in their way. Our protagonist thinks that not even the young lady from the Xia family is as arrogant as this guy and asks if he's ever washed his mouth out with soap. Irritated, the boy promptly asks what he just said while preparing a fire attack at that moment. Suddenly, the elven knight steps in front and asks how he dares to attack, then orders him to stop because it's against the academy rules. The mage says he'll do so out of respect for Sister Tao Tao, but there won't be a second time. The girl explains that they'll meet again at 9 o'clock and that the content of the trial can only be discussed the following day, and Lin Moyo thanks her. His friend says they need to go buy some things and make a few preparations for this mission, which will be difficult. The girl says that Ling Zhen should keep his complaints for after the trial, to which the mage replies that he just wanted to see what kind of person replaced his brother's spot. The young woman says he's not ordinary and has a newly discovered class and achieved the highest score in exam history, which makes the mage go quiet. Our boy's friend says not to argue because he's completely crazy and states that they should buy some healing potions along with a communication device. The young man places the items on the table, asking for help with the purchase, and the girl requests 10 red and blue potions along with a communication device. Our boy is promptly identified while his companion says she'll be bothering him anytime from this day on. And so she tells them to exchange contacts and add each other as friends, which the young man does without difficulty. Arriving at his room, the girl says goodbye, saying she'll see him the next morning, to which the boy replies with a friendly tone that he will. Sitting on the bed, he realizes he still needs to prepare more for the trial and uses the primary skill scroll. The system informs him that everything was successful, and he acquired the action Curse of Slowness, which reduces the speed of his enemies by 50% and lasts 10 minutes. He then thinks his talent is truly capable of enhancing skill sets to an insane level, turning a simple ability into something completely incredible in his hands. Overall, he can be categorized as a summoner of attack and curses, and regardless of the type, all of them are important and very powerful. He hopes to learn more skills in the future to further expand his arsenal. The next day, we see the girl calling him, saying the sun is already shining and she's waiting downstairs so they can have breakfast together. After that, the team leader says that once they are teleported, they shouldn't wander off, and the mage tells the boy not to slow them down. The girl starts an argument, saying they'll be fine, to which the leader says they should sort this out after the trial, and for now, they will introduce their classes. Miao Yu introduces herself as an elder elf of level 20. Another is a priest named Duan Gao, also in the same level range. Ling Zhen, with an arrogant attitude, claims to be a sorcerer of level 21. Jing Tao Tao introduces herself as an elven knight of level 23, holding a rare class. Our protagonist and his friend introduce themselves as a necromancer and shadow assassin of levels 17 and 19. It's stated that in this trial, they must work together. Otherwise, they will end up in a lot of trouble. Soon it is said that the Hidden Dragon team is ready to begin the teleportation to the trial. Everyone is taken to a mysterious place where there is a dark tower full of chains. The young woman recognizes it as the divine structure of Xia, making Moya realize that the monument is in the sky. And he wonders if it is this divine power that is teleporting them at that moment. We then see that they have arrived at the Mermaid Island, which is located within that enormous structure. The leader explains that it is a mission stone, which they must touch to learn more about the trial. As soon as our young man does so, he realizes that they must enter a dungeon with a team of 6 people and obtain a mermaid tear. It is said to be located in the center of the island, and he wonders if this item has some special priority to be dropped. Tao Tao says she didn't expect this trial to be here, which makes her companion question her experience and what she knows. She explains that it is an extremely rare item that creates equipment, and besides the divine empire of Xia, other countries are also coming to this island this year. In total, they have 10 teams in the Hidden Dragon Academy, and they are Team 2, which means they will have to fight against teams from several other countries. The girl asks what they will do if they encounter such enemies, and it is said that they guard the dungeon entrance to prevent others from entering it. But they must not let their guard down, as deaths have occurred before, and if a conflict arises, they must handle it appropriately so their lives are not in danger. Our protagonist tells his friend not to worry. After all, they won't face that kind of situation again. Once everyone is ready, the leader asks Duan Gao to apply the buffs, which are quickly given to everyone there at that moment. Our protagonist thinks his stats increased by 30% along with the power of this ability by 20%, lasting for 1 hour. The priest is truly a powerful class, but it doesn't compare to the effect of his own talent, so he decides to test whether it works on his army as well as on himself. Everyone is startled to see an undead summoning, which the assassin says is quite cute and even protected her before. Our protagonist asks to boost the status of his summon, which the man promptly understands. He then states that his abilities cannot be applied to the creature, and Lin Moyu thinks his talent is interfering with the amount of damage that can be delivered. However, not knowing this, the sorcerer says the summon is as useless as its master since it can't even receive buffs. Our protagonist, together with his warrior, observes him cautiously as if they are ready to enter a decisive battle at that very second. The mage, with his staff charged, asks if our protagonist desires death. Quickly, the leader steps in front and asks if he's gone mad, saying they're in the middle of a trial and they can fight later. However, Ling ends up feeling a strange sense of death from the summon looking at him, and his body becomes cold and stiff like a board. The trial soon begins, and everyone must run immediately to the island at that moment. Their target is the Mermaid Dungeon, and for that, they'll need to move quickly and avoid fighting monsters if possible, which everyone understands. A creature can be seen in the distance, submerged in water, apparently cooling off. But then it dives deeper into the area to hide, and soon it leaps out, revealing itself as a level 19 merman soldier that attacks the team leader. However, the girl manages to counter using her daggers along with her shield, successfully handling the creature with no difficulty. Following this, the assassin jumps over the monster while a fireball flies in its direction. The soldier is quickly defeated, and Captain Jiang Tatao obtains a fish scale from the creature. After this single yet extremely troublesome enemy, another one approaches from behind at that exact moment. Now monsters of level 21 are already appearing, and at this pace, they'll need 3 hours to reach the center of the island, so they must lure and delay the monsters to advance. The mage says she's using wind binding and tells everyone to run as fast as possible because she has everything under control. After 20 minutes, they are close to the location, but they are still very far behind in this situation. She questions whether they will have a chance to advance, and it is said that there are many monsters and only a few can be controlled, as they already reached level 22. Attacking directly will put them in danger, and they cannot afford to be surrounded. It would take more than an hour if they decide to take another path. Our protagonist promptly steps forward, saying he can do it. The mage mocks him, saying he's just a level 17 rookie who should keep hiding behind the women in this situation. The captain asks what his plan is, and he says he can simply use his skeleton warrior to distract the Triton monsters and create an opening. The young woman understands this and is surprised, then says she'll leave the situation to him. Quickly, the creature charges forward, and everyone notices it has extreme agility even at level 17. With a clear path, everyone moves forward to head toward the center of the island. Soon the skeleton is recalled back into the summoning space, while the leader says Moyu did a good job and she owes him a lot at that moment. The mage keeps saying they would have already reached the top of the mountain if his brother were there, and the assassin tells him to shut up because he can go alone if he wants to. But the sorcerer continues being arrogant and says the protagonist is degrading himself and not showing anything useful, and Moyu says this is the last chance he's giving him. Suddenly, the girl ends up shouting for everyone to run as fast as possible, because several monsters are coming toward them, and soon the leader orders an immediate retreat. They realize that the one responsible for this is someone from country Y, who possesses the unique class of Shikigami Summoner. This man then uses several magical and strange papers, throwing them at the group, causing mythological figures to appear, and everyone says they've heard he can even summon ancient gods. The mage asks what they're doing because at this rate they won't be able to reach the top of the mountain. The summoner orders them to stay there, saying that the mermaid dungeon belongs only to his country, and then laughs boastfully. Everyone in the group curses him and says he spared no effort to subdue such weak people, and that they can't wait to kill him. The leader asks if our protagonist can do something, and the boy raises his hand to perform a feat. That feat being using his skeleton warrior to lure the monsters in another direction, though it's said that, unfortunately, 2/3 of the monsters are still there. But then our boy surprises everyone by summoning a second skeleton warrior and giving the monster a pat on the back, telling it to go lure the monsters. Quickly, as the other horde arrives, our protagonist's summon appears to attract them, and everyone is extremely grateful for it. Everyone then thanks the one who did such a thing, since now that everything is stable, they can go after that Shikigami summoner to move forward. The mage gets irritated seeing all of his companions thanking our protagonist and saying he's amazing for doing that for them. And the other man, on the other hand, questions what's going on because he doesn't understand how they got through all those creatures so suddenly. He then orders the archers to get ready, as he must find a way to deal with these invaders who handle the Tritons. As soon as the arrows are fired, everyone screams that they're from the archers of country Yai. The mages raise their protective shields, but even so, it's unpredictable, and some arrows end up hitting unprotected members. However, our boy says the fight has begun, and his friend feels safe because her skeleton warriors are protecting her. After the first round of clashes, the teams split up and say they need a mage to regroup and suppress this team. Then the arrogant one approaches the captain, saying he wants to join another team at that moment, saying either he stays and the protagonist leaves or the opposite, and the captain must decide. Then all the members say he's going too far because they wouldn't have survived without Moyo. The assassin says Ling Zhen is really shameless for one and get rid of the one giving them the best chance right now. However, this mage is confident that his captain will try to keep him after all. He's the one dealing the most damage in the group and could get the protagonist expelled from the team. But the woman stands up and says that if that's the case, then Ling Zhen must leave the team immediately. The mage is completely stunned upon hearing such words coming from someone considered his friend, and he questions why she wants him to leave. After all, she's practically saying she no longer wants to enter the creation seminar. But his companion says that he forgot her profession. She's an elven knight who has her own beliefs and cannot comply with that man's demands. Annoyed, the arrogant one understands and then walks away, hoping she won't regret what she has done. Our protagonist promptly says that they are going to enter the dungeon, making their leader confused by that statement. However, it is clearly seen that Yayi tells them to go in, making the woman question what they will do inside. The priest and the mage observe the situation from afar, saying they will accompany him. But they state that in the worst-case scenario, they can retreat and it won't be that dangerous with a healer around. But they wonder why the assassin trusts the protagonist so much. Sometime later, we can see a portal submerged beneath a nearby waterfall. The men say to capture those intruders because they don't have permission to get close to the mermaid dungeon, which is now their property. However, the companions say the protagonist helped them with his summons and that they won't let him be intimidated by this stupid country. On the other side, it's clear that the mage is happy about this, saying that in the end, they are truly longing for death. Regretfully, the strongest from country Y sends a huge creature in the direction of our protagonist while his allies provide support. Soon, the elven knight steps forward with her shield to withstand the blows. But our protagonist raises his hand, asking for his army to rise at that moment, and with a single strike from that summon, the creature is completely destroyed along with the appearance of the protagonist's army in that place. All the other group members wonder how the protagonist can summon so many, and those skeletons are blocking all of those massive attacks. The people from that country question what kind of profession this is and state that these skeletons are incredibly strong and their attacks become ineffective against them. With the announcement that they are entering the dungeon, all those men charge forward to stop the protagonist. He then selects the nightmare difficulty while those other presences around approach. But as they try to attack him, it is visible that he is already teleported inside the place without taking even the slightest bit of damage. The men are completely enraged by that and can only bite their tongues in frustration. Inside the place, Lin Moyu observes the surroundings with his current group. It is clearly seen that his expression is relaxed, but the area leader is worried about the situation. The girl says not to worry. After all, the protagonist's skeletons are very powerful, and the young woman understands and says she'll do her best to protect them from attacks. Thus, the healer and the priest must take care of crowd control and boost their strength while advancing through that hell filled with monsters. However, suddenly the system informs that they just killed a level 21 elite Triton, and they begin to question what happened and the reason for that amount of experience. Soon it is seen that the protagonist's skeleton eliminates another monster without any difficulty in a single blow. Our boy orders them to keep searching for the target, and the leader realizes that his skeletons are so powerful, they're stronger than a perfect team. The assassin quickly says they need to hurry so they don't fall behind the protagonist, and the leader says they should move forward, but the priest at least wanted some time to process everything that's happening. The creatures barely stand a chance against our boy's army, which uses the rage attack to increase its damage and speed up the advance. Tavadeo realizes this is the first time she has felt so relaxed while clearing a dungeon. She doesn't even need to step in this time. The other two supports say they can't really do anything, and the healer says they'll just stay in the back and keep going with the tide. Suddenly, they end up arriving at a dead end, and there are apparently no dungeon monsters in this place. But the assassin tells them to look down because the boss seems to be right here and now. And so we see a Queen Triton serpent of level 23 with absurd stats, even higher than the Goblin King that Lin Moya faced. The woman says she'll lure the monster. Our protagonist tells her to stay back because it's not necessary. And so Lin Moya's army jumps down from above to eliminate anything that opposes their master's existence. However, the boss uses a move called Whip to eliminate those who get close. Everyone notices that the serpent is very agile even in an unfavorable location and despite having such a large body. Our boy states that there's no need to worry and thus uses his slowing curse. Everyone notices that the serpent becomes chained at that moment, with its speed becoming even more obsolete and futile than before. The group leader is impressed by this ability that our boy possesses, which he claims is nothing special and is just a necessary support. In her thoughts, the girl acknowledges that the necromancer class is extremely powerful and wonders what else it can do besides these summons and unique abilities. The snake continues to retaliate against the attacks to survive the onslaught and uses a move called Death Strangle. And upon noticing one of the creatures coming in its direction, it spits extreme venom toward the protagonist's skeleton. However, since they are undead, the poison has no effect on them, and so the monster attacks the serpent. Soon after, it thrusts its sword into its mouth to finish it off right there. Everyone can feel the ground around them collapsing, and the system informs that they have just killed the level 23 Triton Queen's serpent and received 50,000 experience points for it. The priest is in disbelief because he did nothing and still gained a lot of experience, and the assassin tells him to stop talking nonsense and keep moving so he doesn't get left behind. The eldest says they should follow Lin Moyu, as the name of the last boss was the queen of the Triton's pet, so the next enemy lies ahead. As they walk, a putrid smell of rotten fish is clearly noticeable in the area, which reveals itself to be a cave with a temple beneath it made of ivory. Inside, there's a massive number of monsters waiting at the site, which begin to be counted. In total, there are 60 patrols, meaning 180 Tritons, and all of them are enhanced elite monsters that can't even be compared to the previous ones. Our boy, with a flame in his hand, thinks to himself that the more monsters there are, the better it will be for him. The leader promptly questions what he's doing, as his skeletons are very strong, and even so, he wants to follow a path without any strategy. It becomes clear that these creatures are extremely powerful, far more than any others they have faced before. They soon use a skill called Stunning Thrust while the skeletons retaliate with a furious attack. The assassin tries to warn that other patrols are advancing and this could get worse. However, our boy raises his hand and tells her to cover her ears because something unbelievable is about to happen. With that done, a flash stains the young woman's face completely, and then a huge number of cistern windows appear, saying that they gained experience for killing the Triton soldiers. They wonder how such a talent can be so powerful and had never experienced a notification spam like this before. Soon the palace door finally begins to open to reveal the final creature waiting for them, being the Triton Queen, a boss-level monster with devastatingly high stats. The protagonist's friend observes for a moment and begins to fall into a trance, and then advances in that direction with her defense completely down while loudly saying how beautiful she is. Our protagonist grabs his friend and his skeletons stop the others from moving forward because it's a mind-controlling enchantment. The support then uses a skill called Cleans Mind and wonders if our protagonist wasn't affected after all. The confused assassin asks what happened to her because she doesn't remember, and everyone around feels exhausted. Then the healer explains that this boss has an enchantment spell, and if it weren't for the protagonist stopping them, the entire group could have been wiped out. Several bodies can be seen being thrown into the place, and the queen's aura begins to spread throughout the area. Her appearance changes to a more slender and demonic form at that moment. She then uses a skill called Terrifying Scream that echoes with the water she releases. The team leader states that with a normal team it would take less than an hour to defeat her, but she can't predict Lin Moya's movements or what he will do. The queen's power stats are something even the skeletons can't compare to, and the assassin adds something that comes to her mind. It's like a pack of wolves foolishly trying to attack a lion, where it's hard to tell who will be the winner and who will be the loser in this fight. The monster promptly uses its trident to charge for the creature, and so he throws it at one of the skeletal soldiers to finish it off quickly. The system informs him that the skeleton was completely destroyed but can still be revived. The team leader orders the priest to prepare because the battle is about to begin at any moment, and as soon as the protagonist's skeletons fall, they will advance. But our young man says there's no need for that and extends his hand forward, using the slowing curse. Chains promptly spread across the queen's skin, covering her back and torso. As a defense, she tries to use the Wavy Wave's ability to attack them and eliminate the threats in her castle. It's visible that the skeletons manage to partially withstand the blow, but some end up being destroyed in the process. The system informs the protagonist that 12 of the soldiers have already been completely obliterated at this point. The leader says they can't hold out much longer and that it should soon be her turn, telling Lin Moyu to order the others to fall back. But the boy shouts no and uses his ability to raise all his soldiers, summoning more than 87 at that moment. Everyone watches this completely insane scene unfolding in front of them, and in shock they question how this is happening. It even feels like a dream, and it's no wonder the assassin has so much faith in him. But even she didn't know he had gotten this strong and has been doing it at a pace far beyond her expectations. It's clear the boss is having trouble dealing with multiple targets attacking at once, so she uses an ability called Queen's Tears to try and clear the area at that moment. It's explained that this lowers their sanity by a certain percentage, but our protagonist states that his skeletons are dead souls and feel nothing. And so it becomes clear, a queen crying red tears while being defeated and giving the protagonist more than 80,000 experience. Soon, the Triton's tear is obtained and they manage to complete the mission with extreme ease. Everyone says that with this, they might even get into the Genesis Academy, and they thank the protagonist, saying Lin Zhen was useless in the end. Lin Moyu asks if his friend has an artifact to reset, and once confirmed, she asks if she's planning to do something. Soon with the item in hand, the girl says she'll use it immediately to reset the dungeon's cooldown. Everyone outside is shocked to see that our protagonist already left at such speed that not even half an hour had passed until that moment. But then they start laughing and say that they didn't even face anything and ran away, adding that the protagonist's skeletons are just for decoration. Our boy's companions say it's fine not to clear the dungeon because what matters is his life, and they ask him to come back. However, the mage is upset that they didn't die and wonders what's the point of going as a group if they're just going to run away like that. Then they shout that no one else has entered the dungeon and that everyone must be cautious right now, and the assassin reassures them, saying they can relax because the protagonist is with her. Yahello says they'll follow the plan, and her companion happily agrees and uses the recharge talisman. Everyone is shocked to be going back in because it's an extremely rare item, and it was used to enter nightmare mode again. The woman says they can only trust them, to which her companion excitedly replies that they've already seen Lin Moyu's ability, so they'll be fine. Even in nightmare mode, our protagonist was able to clear the dungeon with no difficulty, and so they relax for a moment. Inside the dungeon, the girl hadn't expected the necromancer to help her level up so soon and tells him not to give up along the way, to which he says he won't. Then she says that with the remaining charges of the recharge talisman, they'll still be able to clear the dungeon 2 more times, so they'll take the opportunity to collect all the items. Our boy says it won't be hard because with his army, he is the embodiment of speed itself. We can see the girl has already gained a massive amount of experience just with the help of our protagonist, and the queen's serpent ends up being attacked in the middle of all this with extreme agility, without either of them needing to move. With it dead, our protagonist says it took him half an hour to get here before, but in 5 minutes they broke that record. The young woman says the boy is someone incredible, to which he replies that they should go to the palace as quickly as possible. Lin Moyu and his friends stay in the rear while the skeletons charge at the creatures. Soon, they use their Fury Strike to eliminate them without any difficulty. With that, the guards are already gone and the queen is finally going to appear to face them. We then see her glorious image emerging in the midst of that place with turbulent waters. The assassin says she will avoid looking at her to not end up being enchanted again. And then she shouts for Lin Moyu to advance, and with a Pokemon reference, says she chooses him for this battle. Our boy promptly uses his slowing curse to prevent complex movements from the monster. The creature quickly starts taking massive damage due to the corpse explosions triggered by the necromancer. And so the Triton Queen is eliminated, and they obtain the Triton's tear, which was their main goal. The girl suddenly notices something, her level increasing all at once. She tells the protagonist that he's incredible for helping her, and that they should do it again to collect the rest of the tears. However, the boy thinks back to when he first met her. He was level 10, and she was already level 19. And after all this time, she hasn't changed at all. Everyone wonders why they left again, as this time it didn't even take 10 minutes, and they ask how they could waste such a valuable item like that. But the girl, upon hearing those complaints, sticks her tongue out at them and uses the artifact to reset the cooldown. Everyone is surprised that the do finish at such an advanced speed, and say that the protagonist is much more capable than they thought. With both of them back at the location, they start a timer saying they'll see if they can be even faster this time, and the boy thinks she looks like a speedrun player. The two of them quickly manage to eliminate the queen without any difficulty, beating the goal in 8 minutes and 58 seconds, 3/10 faster than before. The boy says they're done and that they're going back, while his companion is excited to see everyone's faces. As they leave, it's clear that the others are still laughing at them, saying they're wasting their chances and betting they ran away without even seeing a single monster. Toto approaches, asking if everything was obtained, and the answer is yes, with a hand signal. Suddenly, they see the dungeon disappearing at that moment and question how that's possible, since it shouldn't happen. At that moment, it's already completely gone, which would be impossible unless all 3 tiers had already been turned in. They then realize that this was the case with our protagonist, who says they already finished there and should leave as quickly as possible. The red-haired one shouts not to let them escape, as those items are extremely valuable and must be taken from them immediately. Suddenly, the group is surrounded by all the men, who order them to hand over the tiers immediately. Some question how this is possible, but with the dungeon gone, there's no other possibility, and they start calling them thieves for taking everything. The air around our protagonist group begins to grow heavy at that moment, and then we see the overwhelming presence of someone from a legendary class staring at our protagonist with an extremely angry look. It's clear that his face is pale like a ghost, and he uses all his aura to bear down on the elf. She can only tremble in fear upon seeing this, thinking her death is closer than ever. But our protagonist decides to calm her down by using the Soul Flame spell at that moment. He then fires it at the massive Shikigami summoned by the man. We see that the creature is quickly obliterated without any chance of resistance from the attack. The man is surprised and angry at the same time, saying they deserve to die for committing such a blasphemy in front of him. Then the old man uses his Shikigami summoning with a paper in his hand. He soon summons a massive creature that flies across the skies at that moment, and then he commands the monster to wipe them all out to take the items. The allies say the attacks are useless because they won't even scratch such a massive axe protecting him. But our protagonist promptly uses his shadow ability to summon his army. And so we see the skeletons charging with their fury attack and strength exceeding 2,700. With a single strike, it is seen that the creature falls to the ground due to the immense damage it took. Not even our young man knew it was so weak, and everyone claims that he is an unprecedented monster. The summoner ends up receiving the damage from the Shikigami that was defeated at that moment. The skeletons, on the other hand, continue advancing even after having eliminated the massive creature. We can see that the man with tied back hair spits more ketchup while feeling the damage from his summons returning to him. Our protagonist raises his hand, telling his entire army to head toward that enemy to eliminate him. Feeling fear in his veins, this man can only scream in despair. And so he begs his summon to run as fast as possible in order to retreat and prevent further problems from occurring. Everyone is surprised by the fact that these summons are extremely powerful and question the level and class of our protagonist. However, the one who summons Shikigami states that a level 17 necromancer must have awakened a talent to become so powerful, and says he must report this information. Thus, we see our boy being protected by his army of undead with a look of maximum threat. And so the creatures begin to walk toward those who are allies of the Shikigami summoner. However, one of them realizes the danger and says he's out of this situation because he doesn't want to die or fight against these abominations of nature. Everyone follows that lead and runs as fast as possible, since even someone of legendary class ended up being useless in this moment. The members of the protagonist group are surprised to see that he managed to make everyone flee and say that fighting him would be throwing their lives away in the end. And so, while observing him, they wonder where a legend like that came from, as he is completely ruthless and doesn't speak much, being a role model for everyone. We then see the mage getting irritated, thinking that if he had stayed in the team, he would have completed the challenge alongside him. But his ego speaks louder, saying it's not his fault after all. He is much stronger than the protagonist, and he won't let things end this way. With that done, the team leader says the mission is finally complete, and now they can turn in the items to end this difficult journey. The tower watches them, saying everything was done masterfully, that it will now initiate their teleportation. In the Hidden Dragon Guild Hall, the girl thanks our protagonist, saying she couldn't have completed this important challenge without him. But Lin Moyu's friend says there's no need to be so formal. After all, the young man is a nice guy despite not talking much. On the other hand, the girl says the two of them must have a good relationship since the assassin never stops mentioning the boy's name. Suddenly, the protagonist's watch beeps with a message that has just arrived for him. Upon checking it, it's revealed to be from God Bae, who was calling him to the academic affairs section for a conversation. He says he watched the video of the challenge and states that the boy did a great job, to which he replies that he only did what was expected of him in the mission. The man is impressed by the calm and serene demeanor of our protagonist and asks him if he knows what the tiers he obtained are for. Lin Moyu promptly says no, breaking the mood and wondering in his thoughts if those items are really that important. It is explained that with the proper use, those who reach level 40 can unlock talents with the help of this tier, and that is still extremely rare. It was fortunate that he was there and acquired all the mermaid's tiers, and he asks if there's any reward he would like. After all, he'll do his best to fulfill his request. Our young man says he hasn't gotten any information about his sister and wonders if he might have a chance to ask goodbye about that. Lin Moyu then asks if he could be given some information about someone who is important to him. The old man knew he would make that request and says that his sister is at the Seminary of Creation and that her information is hidden for that reason, as that place is extremely confidential. Our young man widens his eyes upon realizing this, as Toto's greatest wish was to enter that place and his companions had already told him it was a good idea. He had no idea that his sister had already entered that place so easily, for she entered the university in just over a year and within 6 months had already joined the seminary with extreme ease. Due to the rules of this university, the man is forbidden to speak of such information. If he's concerned, he may enter the place himself. That way he can find his sister, and he says he will send the necessary requirements for entry into the Seminary of Creation to help him. But in the end, this old man was already going to talk about his sister, so he won't count that as a reward and tells him to choose another. Our young man thinks there's a rare item he wants, namely the cooling talisman, which is very useful for increasing his strength. Goodbye laughs, already imagining he would want that, but says it's not easy to obtain and that he'll have to complete a challenge to get it easily. Lin Moyu says he has no problem with that. After all, even without the item in his hands, he will still be able to achieve such a feat without any difficulty. The old man, holding a stone in his hand, says he must be at level 20 to complete this and tells him he can go to the instance wing of the university to speed up his leveling, thus concluding that this is a teleportation stone and not everyone is qualified to enter such a place, much less possess an item of this type. Without any delay, our boy uses it, impressing the old man, who admits that he just finished one challenge and is already off to another. Lin Moyu promptly appears at the location, and we can see several teams looking for people who can enter dungeons with them. The boy looks at his watch, realizing he needs to be above level 30 to enter the Seminary of Creation. And upon observing all the information, he wonders if his sister managed to hit that goal in just 3 or 4 months after entering this university. The infernal difficulty is very hard, so he likely won't be able to complete it alone, and he wonders what he needs to do to earn contribution points. Suddenly, someone approaches him from behind, politely asking for permission at that moment. There is an extremely attractive girl who asks if this is his first time in this place. Her name is Shu Han, and she can guide him through the local dungeons, and so our protagonist realizes she must be trying to earn some points. He promptly asks what the price would be for all of this, and the girl becomes tense, saying it's just 100 points for the explanation. She quickly receives the transfer without any apparent difficulty, and so relieved, she sighs and thanks our protagonist at that moment. It's explained that in this wing there are level 20, 30, and 40 difficulties, and on the upper floors it's even possible to find level 70 dungeons. There are also extended dungeons that require 40 people to complete, with the most difficult one requiring 100 participants, totaling 95 dungeons altogether. Each of them has a completion record, and by breaking those, he will earn additional rewards. She then introduces the Recruitment and Challenge Center. This is where he can complete challenges to acquire points and recruit companions. With that done, the blonde asks if he has any questions, and he replies that he wants to know how to gain contribution. The young woman says it's possible to get them by completing challenges issued by the university on the mission panel. He needs a total of 1,000 points to enter the Seminary of Creation, and the highest reward offered is at least 10 points, with the vast majority being just 2 or 3. A bit tense, the young woman explains that it's very difficult after all. Whenever a good challenge appears, someone quickly completes it, which is unfortunate. But suddenly, we see the protagonist's alarm go off, and it's said that he just received 50 points, and Duan Gao asks if he got them. Everyone is surprised by that and wonders if they heard it right, as it sounds like a joke since our protagonist doesn't seem to be someone of high level. Our young man thanks her for the explanation, to which the companion says there's no problem at all. After all, she was paid for it, and asks if he's looking for a team. However, Lin Moyu doesn't even respond and reaches out his hand to the orb in front of him. And so he sees that the record hasn't been broken for more than 3 years. This is a rare case where he has the chance to shine. He quickly selects the Nightmare difficulty in order to complete it without any difficulty. Everyone wonders why he's entering something so weak, since he's someone supposedly under level 20, and question if the information about his contribution points was fake. We are then shown the inside of the place, where our protagonist already commands his skeletons to advance, and people wonder what the result will be when he returns. His skeletons are able to handle the small creatures, so he can go straight to the boss to save time. Soon he arrives at a lake, saying he found his primary objective. Thus, we see a mutant turtle dragon with extremely high constitution, being much larger than the Queen of Titans, who is 5 levels above. The creature jumps out of the water, and the skeletons try to charge at it, but it defends itself at that moment. Their weapons are deflected due to the super defense that this turtle has in its shell. Our protagonist thinks that the fury attack of his army isn't doing much damage, and because of that, he understands why no one has broken the record in these past 3 years. He then uses his soul flame, saying he's in a hurry and will have to use his strongest ability to deal with this creature. We can see that the monster finally stops spinning after feeling the damage that causes his eyes to roll back. The skeletons promptly flip it over to stop it from continuing to spin. With their battle cry, all the undead charge forward again, using the Fury state to boost their damage. And so we see that the final boss has been eliminated and gave our protagonist a massive amount of experience. The boy received a total of 35% of his experience bar, and completing it one more time should be enough to reach level 18, and he wonders what the new reward will be. Outside, the bell can be heard ringing because someone has just set a new record, and they wonder which team could have done it. They are shocked to see that it was a solo completion by someone at level 17, where it's not normal to finish it alone, being twice as fast as the previous record. Our protagonist finally appears with a somewhat confident tone. He notes that he earned a total of 5 contribution points from that single run and thinks this is the best chance he has to farm contribution. Everyone around is surprised that he's returning, and even higher level people wonder if they can follow him. As he approaches the orb, he sees it's a dungeon for levels 18 to 21, which will require him to complete the mutant forest once more. Everyone is shocked to see that he returned and wonder if he is really still at stage 17 at this moment. 30 minutes later, spectators see that he has come out again, now meeting the minimum requirements to move on to the next stage. Looking at the panel, they see the young man set another record in under 35 minutes. It's astonishing to see a legend emerging in that place, and they believe he will also be able to break the record for the spider nest. Our young man stares at it and notices that the time is very similar to the previous one, wondering if that team was really that weak. He apologizes for what he's about to do, but unfortunately, he needs contribution points and thus selects the nightmare difficulty. As he walks, he realizes this is the spider nest, but it has a tremendous darkness that permeates the entire place. Raising his hand, he uses his blue flame to illuminate his surroundings. His vision becomes a little clearer, and we see a spider watching him from a distance. In the end, this place seems to be a sort of labyrinth, so he'll have to use his skeletons to find the path to the boss room. There is a large number of paths, and the majority of his army is entering combat, which greatly disrupts his timing. Looking up, he notices that the small spiders are also dungeon monsters and wonders why they are spread throughout the entire path. So he tries to use his skill to see if he can gain experience from them. He soon realizes he eliminated 100 of them in one go, and in a single wave, he earned experience equivalent to that of an elite monster of the same level, an excellent outcome. But soon he notices something. A skeleton that was protecting him is now being covered by those creatures. Its constitution begins to drop at a frightening speed due to the numerous bites being inflicted on its bones. Our protagonist commands it to return to the summoning space and thinks to himself that this is usually the strategy he uses to wear down the boss, but that he notices there is a failure in the return and wonders if it's because of the overwhelming number of creatures on his soldier's body. So he uses Corpse Explosion to completely clean it off, earning all the experience and saving one of his members. He needs to take advantage of this excellent farming location, so he'll send all of his 100 skeletons in groups of 10 so they aren't overwhelmed by numbers. After 10 minutes, he ends up reaching the Spider Queen, who presents quite notable stats, and he is unsurprised to have finally found her. Raising his hand, he says she really likes unfair fights, so now it's his turn to do the same with this boss. Outside, the girl questions whether he'll be able to do it, to which one of them says it must be impossible. After all, time is already running out to set the record. A single run gave him 80% of his experience, but it's already been an hour and 32 minutes since he entered, and the fight dragged on for too long, so he'll need to complete it again. The girl outside says that too much time has passed and wonders if the young man ended up being killed inside the place. But then she's startled to see that he finally returned and asks if he cleared the dungeon. However, she suspects that's not the case and says it's common to happen, as it's practically impossible for a single person to manage it. Yet our young man says it's the opposite. The blonde is surprised by this because his speed compares to that of a group of 5 people who previously set a record. Even so, Moyu seems like a calm person who acts as if this is just a walk in the park for him. He asks if there's a place where he can gain more experience, to which the girl replies that this dungeon is the best possible in that regard. There's no denying the spider nest is truly a great source of experience, and clearing it equals 4 times the mutant forest. However, the time it takes is very long. He then asks if there's another place, and his friend starts thinking for a moment. But then she says there is the Desert of Tyranny, which he can enter by forming a team. It's a large dungeon that allows someone at level 20 to enter as part of a 40-person team, and many veterans take newbies with them. Our young man wonders if it's possible to complete it alone, but just to enter it requires level 20, which is exactly what he needs to complete God Bai's mission. The boy promptly thanks her and says he'll have to speed up his leveling to reach level 20, surprising the blonde. With a confident smile, Lin Moyo declares that all the experience from that place will now become his alone. All the old men watch the scene on the big screen with a certain enthusiasm in their eyes. Old Bai Yuan says that even though he's already met him, seeing him in action always surprises him. Other men say the boy seems quite remarkable and even surpassed everyone in the Hidden Dragon Guild despite being a rookie. The bearded man asks if he has some kind of talent, to which it's said yes, but not many details were asked because that would be too personal and disrespectful. Judging by the challenge, this young man must be excellent, to which the man agrees, especially since his sister already managed to enter the Seminary of Creation. She's under the care of that old man who always spots talent, and most likely our protagonist will be another chosen one alongside the girl. In the future, humanity will gain 2 new stars, and the black-haired man says that this boy will become something incredible. A one-man army capable of fighting against hundreds of enemies at once and slaying dragons that soar the skies. This time, the young man didn't eliminate all the spiders but still earned 70%, and the completion time was greatly optimized, and he's about to set another record. We hear the bell ring once again, and everyone realizes that Lin Moyu has achieved something incredible again, calling him super talented. However, another boy says that he's just lucky, making everyone question why he's saying that. The mage says the boy has connections with God Bai and must have been given some super powerful item, and without that, he wouldn't even come close to achieving this. But everyone gets annoyed and questions who he is to challenge the merits of our protagonist, and one of them even says there's no proof of what was said. Soon, our boy comes out and everyone is impressed to see he set another record of 47 minutes, nearly an hour faster than the previous one. Our young man promptly looks at the mage, who yells that he's just a spoiled kid who got support from someone powerful and would be nothing without help. The protagonist, with his heavy aura, says he's put up with him for far too long and thinks to himself that he can't do what he wants at the academy with this idiot in the way. However, the guy with his inflated ego says he's not afraid of him at all, but in his thoughts, he admits his legs are shaking because he can feel something terrifying. Our young man turns, saying he's already wasted too much time because of this idiot and needs to reach level 20 today to accomplish his goals. After some time, the boy raises his hand, saying he'll level up as soon as he finishes this dungeon one last time. And so we see that by defeating the monster, he manages to reach stage 20, and we'll now see the change in his attributes. The most notable for him is that his summoning skill finally leveled up, and now he should take a look at the silver grade skeleton warriors. As soon as he does, his spirit is drained by more than 500, which is an enormous amount, far more than before. But upon observing them, he realizes their stats are equivalent to a boss, and even their fury skill has leveled up. Its cost is already too high, and his equipment is also becoming outdated, so he should sell it to at least be able to buy some skill scrolls. Soon we see that he arrives at the exchange center, where everyone recognizes him as the legend who set records in the dungeons and leveled up twice in one day. He approaches the place where he can sell his items. As soon as he places them on the table, he asks for them to be dismantled so he can buy beginner skill scrolls. The man understands and asks if he won't use any of them, since at level 20 he might be able to use some silver-grade equipment. However, the boy knows he needs something better because these common items won't be of much use. Even though his abilities are notable, they don't compare to his talent, so it's better to look for a practical way to make those items more valuable. The man asks if he doesn't like the equipment sold with gold and suggests he take a look at the point shop, where there are fantastic items. Upon arriving there, the vendor explains that he'll sell them, and so the boy should feel free to browse. Our young man quickly spots a spiritual longsword that significantly increases his spirit, which impresses him. All the equipment there is much better, and the sets give extra abilities, but they are apparently very expensive for a beginner. Even cloaks and rings hold great value at his current level, which could help increase his spirit amount. The set's effect is even interesting in his view. However, there's nothing beyond that, so he quickly loses interest. But suddenly, he hears some people discussing a weapon worth 50,000 points, saying it doesn't even have attributes and wondering where that garbage came from. However, as he approaches, our young man notices the price is extremely high and is sure that few people in this university will be able to afford it. And it's revealed to be an evolvable weapon usable from level 1 from the Death Spirit set, capable of summoning a general hero. Our young man becomes interested in it, since even his skeleton warriors need a leader to support the troops, and it's part of a very intriguing set. He extends his hand and grabs the handle of that weapon at that moment. Even though it currently has no attributes and others think it's trash, he can see that it's capable of evolving by absorbing the souls of abyssal demons. And so he decides with a smile that he'll take the item with him right now. The man is impressed and asks if he knows the value of it, and our boy says it's no problem and hands over his card. When it runs through the machine, the older man is stunned to see he has more than 130,000 points, something completely unbelievable. That scythe had been in the exchange center for a long time, but he never thought this would be the day it found a new owner. Our boy says there are no abyssal demons available, so he'll just use the skill scrolls and wonders if he'll get anything good. He then holds one and begins his tests, and he obtains a defensive ability called Skeleton Armor, which is great for him since, with his talent, the attributes increase unbelievably. He then decides to summon it to test how it would work in this situation. As soon as he does, it becomes visible, and it's a spinal column that protects him from any imminent attack. Our young man doesn't seem very impressed, but at the same time he appears satisfied with his new ability. And so he uses the other scroll, which catches his attention and makes his eyes widen slightly. He then raises his hand, summoning the new invocation. It is the Iron Rank Skeleton Mage who has similar stats to him but possesses a spirit strong enough to evolve with the Master's power. Now his skeletons can even attack from a distance, and if they keep leveling up and training, his mages will become increasingly powerful. The next day, he believes his spiritual power is fully recovered and it's time to speak with God Bai. He then arrives at the room and is asked what brings him there, to which he replies that he has already reached level 20. The man is surprised by this, as that speed of progression is far beyond what he had at the same stage. He assumes in his mind that these two brothers are complete monsters and smiles, saying it's a simple mission where he just needs help getting his hands on something. He's been to the instance before, so he must have encountered the Desert of Tyranny, and his mission is to obtain the tyrant's heart, which only drops in that dungeon. It is said that the place accommodates at least 40 people, so there should be no difficulty for him, and if he brings the item within 3 days, he will help him obtain the talisman. These items can even be compared to the instance wing in the end. However, the cooldown time for high-level dungeons can reach up to a month, and when these instances appear, that's when the equipment shines. Besides, it's necessary to have this initial item to evolve it, and if he manages to complete this mission, he will be guaranteed the process to enhance the talisman. With few words, our young man says he will bring the heart, which makes the man happy and hopeful that he will arrive in time for the opening. After some time, we see the long-haired, bearded man arriving and asking if he's satisfied with the young man, to which he replies that he is very quiet, but that's what he likes. The old man says that knowing his personality, it's very likely he'll try to do the dungeon alone, and remembers that even Bai entered at level 30 and achieved nothing. But it's indescribable to realize now how powerful Lin Moyu is compared to him at that time. After some time, everyone notices that the legend who broke several records has returned and is now heading to the Desert of Tyranny, an extensive high-level dungeon. Our young man observes the orb, seeing something about the Flying Dragon Guild. And so he says it's not much different from the Hidden Dragon group, and it took 16 hours to clear it with a total of 40 people. The blonde approaches, calling the freshman, who responds to her. She asks if the young man is going to challenge that place and wonders to herself if he doesn't get tired because he's working too hard to be doing this kind of thing after yesterday. Our young man says he needs to get an item called the Tyrant's Heart, which startles the girl as it's an item only dropped by the final boss of the area. It can be used to craft a boss accessory and is something that only drops once a year and hasn't been seen in over 2 years. She then says that he can't possibly be thinking of doing that, since he just reached level 20, and asks where his team members are. But then she covers her mouth upon realizing that our protagonist is planning to do it alone, just like before, and says the Flying Dragon record hasn't been broken in over 4 years. She's extremely worried about him while someone in golden armor approaches. This enormous figure comes up behind her, blocking all the light from behind, and then pushes her aside. These are the members of the Bela Guild, who are trying to break the record for the Desert of Tyranny dungeon. They even came prepared with golden-grade equipment, which is extremely expensive. The leader stands at the front saying that this time they will set a new record in this dungeon, and they must be as prepared as possible because if there are any mistakes, he will cut off their heads. Our protagonist realizes they are not joking, so it seems he'll have to hurry at this moment, and he quickly starts climbing the steps. Everyone around shouts that the legend is really going to try it and wonders if it's even possible, because he'll go down in history if he succeeds. The white-haired man asks who would be bold enough to do that alone, and then says this rookie must not know the rules of the place he's entering. He then tells his companions not to pay attention to him because he's just a child looking for death, and they should prepare to enter. Inside the place, it's possible to see a vast desert covering the entire ground of the environment, and the sun is directly above, so it won't be possible to use it to determine direction. And considering that others took 16 hours, a space must be gigantic until reaching the boss. So he assumes he'll need to explore it and immediately commands all of his skeletons to go out and scout, discovering more about the monsters. It takes 500 points to enter the dungeon, and to reset the cooldown, it's another 2,000, so his 80,000 points won't last very long. Suddenly, he notices that a monster has been found in the region. It's a desert ghost tree, a super enhanced elite monster, which was something expected in this dungeon. A simple creature has attributes similar to a level 24 boss, and if he hadn't upgraded his skeletons, he would have wasted a lot of time there. Soon we can see that the soldier manages to eliminate the creature and sees that the experience given is colossal, and this place is simply fantastic for farming experience. He then uses his skeleton armor, thinking it's better to be careful since there must be hidden dangers within these dunes. He then starts walking, accompanied by a small battalion of 4 skeleton soldiers by his side. 2 hours pass and he finally reaches a different place, an apparent oasis, full of vegetation and water. But since it comes from this desert, he assumes there must be monsters nearby and for that reason, sends his battalion ahead. Giant scorpions quickly appear, confirming our boy's hypothesis, who says it was very lucky he didn't get too close. The skull's eyes begin to glow red as he uses the rage attack in that moment to speed up the charge. The giant scorpion is sliced in half with no difficulty, giving our boy a monstrous amount of experience. But then he realizes they're gathering around a strange place, trees with fruits that were probably created by this location. Raising his hand, he asks for one of the fruits to be brought to him, and some skeletons are ordered to hold off the giant scorpions while the rest collect the items. As soon as he sees the item, he wonders why the creatures were gathering because of it and decides to observe its effects. It's an oasis desert fruit that restores a large amount of spiritual power in a short period of time and is practically divine. The boy promptly takes a bite and realizes that all his spirit points were recovered at an insanely fast rate. With that, he'll practically have unlimited energy in this place as long as there are fruits left for him. And such items are abundant at the tops of the trees at this moment. This place is the holy grail for training his abilities and leveling up, so he summons the skeleton mage. He had already been looking for a way to improve his summons abilities, but now he found it right in front of him, with spiritual power being endlessly replenished. There won't be any problem, as he can keep summoning mages continuously. Once his skill reaches level 20, the creatures will also be promoted to Praksha rank, thus increasing their strength. The young man raises his hand, saying they should continue until they can't go any further. 3 hours later, we see that the skeleton mage summon has already reached level 20, leaving our boy satisfied. He then commands the skeleton mage to appear, and now it can be seen that it has unique ice attributes. Others that are summoned afterward also possess unique elements and special types. The boy says the monsters must have had a lot of fun killing his army, so now it's time to return the favor. Soon, the 4 elemental summons prepare to eliminate any threat to their master. They then unleash powerful elemental magic to eliminate the scorpions. We can see each of them suffering in agony, as if Mother Nature herself were against them. Their bodies are left in small fragments that shine with their cores. Our protagonist states that this is the true feeling of facing an expansive dungeon. He remembers he would need an army to enter here, but his own summons are more than enough. Apparently, as long as the monsters are close to his current level, there won't be any problem eliminating them. And so we see the entire cavalry charging at the monsters all at once. Right after they are killed, our boy takes the opportunity to use his corpse explosion at that moment, thus creating a true scene of war in this place where peace was supposed to prevail in the desert. All the soldiers charge forward while experience is granted to our protagonist in a measurable proportion. And so we see that the sun is already close to setting, and the oasis is finally filled with immaculate silence. Our boy is surprised to have wiped out all the monsters. After all, he had planned to further level up his other skills. At this point, his skeleton mages have already been promoted to silver rank, so it's time to go after the dungeon boss to obtain the Heart of Tyranny. Suddenly, a wave of smoke arrives amidst several footsteps coming in his direction. He wonders if this is a horde or something like that and activates his skeleton armor. He quickly jumps to avoid being trampled by the creatures, which turn out to be desert soldier ants. Landing on top of one, he questions where they are being led to at this moment, as it seems strange. But then he is surprised to see that they are all following the same and only direction with a clear objective, that being a massive anthill, which our protagonist enters along with the creatures. And thus we can see a winged ant, which is part of the queen's escort. This likely means the Majesty is the boss of this dungeon. The creature attacks our protagonist, who defends himself using his skeleton armor at that moment. The boy is slightly irritated by this beast trying to hit him just because his skill hasn't leveled up yet, so he summons all of his mages at that moment to assist him. With a powerful tornado, it's clear that the winged creature has no chance against him, who uses nature's elements. Suddenly, an entire army begins coming toward him, flying and attacking from the ground. Our young man climbs a column and commands his soldiers to appear at that moment to protect him. And then he orders them to locate the queen among all the tunnels of this massive structure, because he, along with his mages, will take care of this area and the obstacles in their path. Thus, we see a true war begin, in which our protagonist gains all the experience from this location. But then he gets excited to see that they finally found her, since if that's the case, he won't waste any more time. It's time to face the boss. We can see that this ant queen is a boss-level monster accompanied by her guardians. But our protagonist thought it would be something more challenging and only feels boredom at this point, so he commands his army to have some fun with them. The creature promptly uses a threatening tone and unleashes a skill called Sandstorm. Our protagonist thinks it's actually quite powerful, but he's lucky to have his skeleton armor to protect him from that kind of damage. And so he says the mages will take care of the guardians, while his warriors should focus on slaying the queen. Soon we can see that everyone obeys and moves in her direction. However, the main creature uses a skill to harden her carapace. But it's clear that all the guardians there begin to be eliminated without any problem by the mages. Realizing this, the queen uses a power called Sound Wave, which exterminates several of the skeletons around her. She then wraps herself in a cocoon to summon more ants for herself. Our young man thinks this is a huge waste of time and commands his warriors to revive at that moment to continue the fight. Suddenly, he realizes that this ability isn't creating new ones. It's attracting all the others that were in the anthill to their queen. And then our protagonist smiles, because things turned out in a way that benefits him, since this queen, without realizing it, ended up digging her own grave because of something she doesn't understand. Using the enhanced corpse explosion along with his mage's attack, our protagonist defeats her, gaining massive experience and silver-grade items. The young man thinks this can be sold for a large amount of gold coins, and his experience is already close to level 21. This is a great place to farm levels, but it's a shame he doesn't have much time left, so he will return in the future to gain more experience. Soon we are taken to 2 hours later, where the skeletons are eliminating a creature that, being a sandworm, was planning to attack its master at that moment. And so our protagonist realizes that he has finally arrived at a place unlike any other in that dungeon. It's a palace that shelters the tyrant lion, who proves to be a world-level boss. Our protagonist observes that he has finally found the right place to begin his invasion. And so he sees desert lion archers with extremely high stats, much greater than those of the ants before. Even the warriors are extremely powerful and have a level higher than our protagonist. Their formation is clean and coordinated, and he won't be able to use the same strategy he used in the Oasis and the Anthill. Our protagonist draws his scythe, thinking he can also play this kind of game with his own general. And so he uses his deadly speaker to summon the spirit of the hero that resides in his weapon. It's clear that the massive creature appears at that moment, possessing the military strategy skill to assist in battle. Our protagonist orders his soldiers to appear to assist him in this difficult confrontation. Soon the massive creature uses its military strength, and Lin Moyu commands that they follow its orders to guide the soldiers and take down the monsters. It can be seen that his army is bloodthirsty and ready to eliminate anyone in their path. The lion, sensing this monstrous aura, lets out a roar to alert the others. All the archers use their precise shot skills from long range. This results in thousands of arrows being launched toward the army. However, they are quickly neutralized by the mana of our protagonist's mages. It's evident that this energy is powerful enough to make even those warriors retreat the moment they see it. In the end, it's a pity that all the corpses fell inside the castle, so he won't be able to use his explosion. But he still has those on the front lines, and he plans to use them well. We can see that the giant uses his rage strike along with the skeletons to attack. Our protagonist commands half of his mages to open the gate so he can find the boss, but that he notices is extremely resilient and questions why that is. He quickly reasons that since this is an extensive dungeon, teamwork is needed to break this formation. And then he smiles, saying that all the related problems are due to a lack of damage, so he orders the corpses to be placed near the entrance. With everyone gathered there, it's visible that lightning begins to emerge from their bodies at that moment. And as soon as the explosion is triggered, we can see that the gate structure cannot withstand it. Our protagonist, followed by his general, charges forward with full confidence. Sitting on the throne ahead is the Lion of Tyranny, relaxing in his post. And it's clear that his aura is heavy, and he is level 31, possessing the most overwhelming stats at the moment. Our protagonist wonders what exactly a world level is, because the difference is truly remarkable compared to any creature he has faced before. And so he apologizes to the giant as he is in a great hurry at the moment. The creature uses a furious leap, advancing toward the silver-rank skeleton warriors. Upon landing, it's clear that 2 of them were destroyed by a single impact. The creature extends its hand, ready to use another ability. However, our protagonist orders them to stop him. The mages use their lightning storm to cause temporary paralysis to the boss. Numerous attacks are directed at the giant at that moment to eliminate him efficiently. It is clear that some parts of his adornments were destroyed, and now the boss is wielding weapons in each hand. He then uses an attack known as Spinning Storm to deal with the army. 24 in total have already been destroyed, and our protagonist realizes that he is extremely powerful, as no knight could withstand him. He then extends his own hand to use the Curse of Slowness as support. The creature, realizing it is trapped, lets out an infernal scream, eliminating 14 more in the process. Lin Moyu realizes that his skeleton armor lasted only 2 seconds against this powerful attack. The creature once again uses a furious leap, and our protagonist thinks that he cannot give up and must be careful not to lose all of his skeleton soldiers. And so he raises his hand, using Soul Flame to inflict damage. The boss did not expect that attack and falls to the ground, with our dear Lin Moyu saying that everyone should attack him at that moment. It's visible that all the mages, along with the warriors, charge toward the giant at that exact moment. Altogether, 4 more were destroyed with simple attacks, yet the army continues advancing with their fury strikes. He needs to keep attacking using Soul Flame and believes he can solo the beast with his silver rank promoted mages. It can be seen that a long 20 minutes have passed, and everyone in the army is using powerful magic to exterminate the monster before them, who is nearly falling. Then, amidst the smoke, the tyrant finally begins to be defeated, receiving recognition from Lin Moyu as he claims all the rewards for eliminating it. After this decisive battle, the system announces that he has just leveled up to level 21. Our young man was so focused on the fight that he even forgot he was still at stage 20, and a great improvement in his stats and abilities can be seen. He realized this is unusual and wonders if, by fully enhancing himself, his skills will evolve alongside his level. In that case, he'll have to increase them quickly, and apparently he'll need to return to the desert to use those fruits and improve even further. Outside, it's seen that the bell rang 6 times, and it's been a long time since anyone heard that. That means a new record has been set in an extensive dungeon, and they wonder who it could be. A man from the Bale Guild says it might belong to their group since they worked hard for it, but they remember that Lin Moyu was also attempting it. This man, who is the grandson of the guild leader, questions who it was and who would dare try to compete for the record with their group. Someone approaches and shares some information about the protagonist. The man begins laughing upon learning it was someone who went in alone, and he wonders if the protagonist thinks he's some kind of deity. However, others get annoyed because Lin Moyu previously set 2 records on his own, so there's no issue with him doing it again here. But this man says there's a huge difference between a low-level dungeon and an extensive one, and someone who is at most level 20 wouldn't have the skills to do it. Then it's said that the heart of the tyrant was also claimed, shocking everyone since defeating the boss in under an hour is a massive feat. The man from before laughs, believing his team managed to get the item anyway, and that now they'll have a new boss-level accessory. But then the system announces that the extensive dungeon was cleared with a new record set by our protagonist in just 14 hours. Everyone is stunned by this fact, and the man from earlier wonders how it's even possible while reading our protagonist's name on the leaderboard. Soon everyone realizes that the legend is coming out right now and say he's incredible for exceeding even their expectations. The irritated man asks if he is Lin Moyu, but our protagonist thinks he has to hurry to deliver the heart. So he steps out of his way, saying he's too busy to give autographs or things like that. Everyone there realizes that the Bale Guild's honor was completely crushed. After all, they were arrogant, and now the legendary Lin Moyu has knocked them off their pedestal. Others talk about how amazing the protagonist is for having cleared the extensive dungeon alone at level 20, and they wonder how powerful a necromancer truly is. We are then taken to God Baz's office, who is sleeping at that moment. Waking up slightly tired, he wonders what the protagonist wants and assumes the boy couldn't find a team. But our boy states that he has already found the heart of the tyrant and is bringing it now. The man doesn't hear properly and says it's okay if he couldn't form a team. If he wishes, he'll do everything he can to help him right now. However, he's startled when he realizes the information and questions if it's true, to which Lin Moyu replies and repeats that he's not lying. The old man is shocked as he gave that mission just a short while ago, and yet the boy already obtained the heart without any problem. Now composed, he asks where our protagonist is, to which he replies that he is near the dormitory. We can see that night is fully settled over the skies as Lin Moyu turns off his watch. He earned a total of 5,000 points along with 30 contribution points, which is a good reward. It's just a shame it can only be claimed once. Suddenly, an aura begins to swirl around his body, making him feel confused at that moment. And then we see that he is transported to another place, where God Bai introduces this man as Elder Meng. Our protagonist greets him politely, to which his companion replies that he doesn't need to be so formal as they're only here for a casual conversation. The long-haired man asks to see the heart of the tyrant, and Lin Moyu says there's no problem. Both are startled, and the god questions whether the student managed to complete it alone. Our protagonist confirms, saying it took around 14 hours to complete. The elders exchange shocked glances upon hearing this information, and so the old man laughs, saying he'll have to fulfill what he promised, as God Bai tosses a watch to our protagonist. This is the cooldown talisman, which will greatly assist Lin Moyu in his progression stage. This god asks if the necromancer wants to enter the creation seminary, to which he replies yes, but he still lacks many contribution points. He only has 90. Our young man asks if the Yuan battlefield can receive the blessing of the talisman, and he's told it's possible, but is asked whether he's up to the challenge. To which the protagonist confidently affirms he is, as he will now be able to earn contribution points as quickly as possible. The man says he will take him to rest and will then guide him to the Yuan battlefield after the opening ceremony, receiving the necromancer's thanks. Sometime later, the old man questions whether it's too early to take him there, to which the god replies that he's already much stronger, and this is the best option. However, Bai forgot to mention that this battlefield is inhabited by humanity's enemies that dwell in the mortal world of this era. That day, our protagonist won't be able to meditate. After all, he's been running dungeons for around 10 hours and must rest before returning to the Desert of Tyranny. Soon, the man in golden armor leaves the area, saying they have finally returned with pride in their eyes. The people around say they seem confident and happy, almost as if they've just set a new record. It said they reduced the completion time to 15 hours and 58 minutes, and everyone cheers for the guild. However, everyone around can only mock and chuckle quietly when they see this. But one of the men says something's wrong. They didn't obtain the heart of the tyrant, and wonder who did. And then they're shocked to learn that it was Lin Moyu, someone at level 21 in just 14 hours. The elder immediately remembers the protagonist, who at that moment seemed extremely weak in his eyes. He starts shouting that it's impossible, that he's just a mere beginner, and wonders how a single person was faster than the mighty Bailey Guild. Everyone around says it's wonderful to see because they are now completely embarrassed, and God Lin made them the laughingstock. Soon we see the next day when our protagonist wakes up saying his spiritual power has finally recovered. He walks through the area saying that if he can get more desert fruits, he'll increase the level of his slow curse and skeleton armor. Suddenly, someone approaches asking if he is Lin Moyu. Then says the representative of the Bailey Guild wants to see him and that he should follow. but our protagonist ignores him, which makes the person irritated and question whether he even knows who he's talking about. However, Moya replies that he doesn't know him and that if he wants to introduce himself, he should come in person. The young man notes that he'll need 2,500 points to reset the cooldown in the dungeon. Everyone is shocked to see that he's going to complete the Desert of Tyranny again, and since he didn't know the dungeon well last time, he'll likely break the new record. Others approach the blonde, saying they're stuck on their missions and asking for her help to get support from Lin Moyu and offer him some points. They all beg because they don't want experience or equipment, just to complete their missions and Shu Han, understanding this, goes to ask the necromancer. The man from before approaches the grandson, saying he wants to see the supervisor personally, and he's described as arrogant and completely lacking in manners. With a smile, this man says the protagonist must think highly of himself for soloing a basic dungeon, and they won't stop him, unless he gets in their way again. Soon we're taken to some time later where the blonde has already explained the entire situation. They're trying to pass the university mission and are offering 1,000 points to him. But our protagonist is confused and wide-eyed at that statement in that moment, and so the girl explains that it's assigned by the university, where they must complete it in order to join an independent academy, and that's why they need to finish it. Our protagonist promptly apologizes, saying he didn't know that, and everyone is surprised that he's just a freshman and says it's no problem at all. They say they'll pay him a huge amount of points for his help, and our protagonist thinks that if each person pays 1,000, he'll get 39,000. He says he'll accept taking them in with a payment per person, but there will be one condition they must follow. He says that if they find any desert fruits, they must leave them for him. Everyone is shocked as it's an extremely rare item that can't be transported out, and they agree to leave all of them for him if they find any. Our young man says there's no problem moving forward, and so he will take 39 with him and asks who will be the first ones. Everyone starts crowding around saying they want to go in the first group because they've been stuck on this mission for over a year. However, the blonde approaches, irritated, saying they should form a line. After all, if they keep fighting, the protagonist might get annoyed and refuse to take them. Everyone quickly agrees, and our protagonist receives his payment, thanking his companion, who says it's no problem at all. If she ever has a mission in the future, he won't mind helping her for free, and the girl says the young man is extremely kind and won't refuse that offer. Upon entering the dungeon, our protagonist tells them to stay behind him and not wander off at all. And so Lin Moyu raises his hand, summoning his skeleton warriors and telling them to search for the oasis in the desert. They are startled by the protagonist's summons and realize that this is the reason his class is a necromancer, which must be a legendary level class. Everyone accompanying him is shocked to see that he managed to eliminate a desert tree with just one strike, something that would take minutes even with a perfect team. Our boy realizes that the experience has been drastically reduced, but in the end it won't matter much since he received a large payment and won't worry. Soon everyone notices that God Lin is trying to attract the monsters, saying there are over 100 of them, and they wonder what he's going to do. The young man realizes that the first time was pure luck, and there isn't even a single fruit in this oasis. And since he can't upgrade his abilities, he'll focus on eliminating the boss quickly and re-entering the dungeon afterward. Everyone wonders what's happening, and so our protagonist uses corpse explosion at that moment. The guests are startled by the massive amount of experience being given, as this is an insane speed for someone at his level. Moyu states that he has already cleared all the monsters in the area and asks them to wait until he returns after eliminating the ants in the anthill. These warriors are shocked as only 3 hours have passed since they entered, and they can't believe what they're witnessing before their own eyes. 20 minutes go by, and one of the men says they could try facing the monsters since the protagonist made it seem very simple. Maybe it's not that hard. The others get excited, thinking this could be a chance to test their strength, and it would be shameful if they couldn't even do that much. 2 minutes later, the man apologizes because he accidentally attracted 2 at once, and now they'll begin a fight where the healers should already prepare their healing. In the end, these giant scorpions shouldn't be a big deal, so they order everyone not to panic right now. Then the huge creature charges at the warrior, who uses a shield to block. However, he's quickly thrown backward, saying he needs immediate healing. As soon as he is healed, he asks where the damage is, and his mage companion tells him to focus on the battle or he'll end up getting killed. It's clear that the creature's constitution is immense, and they're barely scratching the scorpion at this point. Suddenly, someone jumps over to attack the creature. He quickly says to leave it to them while the others should retreat immediately. After 5 minutes, everyone manages to defeat one of the creatures, saying it was very tough, and that the protagonist is amazing for facing these monsters alone. Our necromancer hears this and says these people are really troublesome for not being able to stay still. One of the men says they need to get up because there's another one they're facing right now. Everyone is scared because they have no more energy and will end up dying for not listening to the young man. The enormous creature charges at the group to finish them off without any difficulty. But suddenly, one of the skeletons appears using its signature fury attack. It slices the creature in half without any apparent effort. Everyone is shocked to see this and now truly realizing how powerful the protagonist's enemies are. Some of them even cry as Lin Moyu was truly generous for leaving one of his soldiers to protect them, and someone wonders why he didn't kill any monsters. But suddenly, their experience points keep rising, an efficiency completely beyond anything they can currently comprehend. In the end, the protagonist must have reached the Queen of the Anthill, who is extremely powerful, and everyone says not to underestimate the damage the young man will deal. Soon, the boy surrounds the creature with corpses and uses his explosion. Then the notification reaches them as it was done at an insanely fast pace. After some time, Lin Moyu approaches, telling them to head straight to the tyrant's fortress because he needs to end this run quickly and go back to collect his fruits. Everyone is shocked by the massive number of monsters. There are more than 100 waiting, and they can't even imagine how the protagonist is doing this. The boy gathers the corpses in front of the gate again to use his explosion. And so it's seen that his power is such that it completely destroys the barrier with no difficulty. His companions are startled to see this, as they didn't know it was possible to bypass dungeon mechanics if your damage is high enough. Even at a great distance from the dungeon boss, they continue trembling in fear and dread of his abilities, not knowing how long the fight will last. Our boy faces the giant, saying they meet again, but apologizes because he's in a big hurry once more. Everyone is surprised because it feels like the protagonist handles everything with ease and makes it look so easy that they even feel like they could help. However, upon realizing that his companion is encouraging him, he says it was just a joke, and then our protagonist manages to defeat the level 31 tyrant. In tears, they cry because they finally completed their mission after so long. Our boy uses return at that moment, and his companions thank him, saying he's truly incredible for helping them finish their mission. The young man thanks his companion for the help, and in the distance, someone says that the kid finally came out, and this boy asks him to go and enter the dungeon. Lin Moyu notices there are many more people than before. They ended up rushing over after learning there was a freshman willing to help them complete it solo. Our young man says everyone must strictly follow the rules, and they all agree, saying they won't make any mistakes. Already inside the desert, the boy hopes he can find the fruit this time. Upon reaching the oasis, he's happy because he'll finally be able to improve his skills and get to a sufficient level before the adventure ceremony. Everyone is surprised to be gaining experience without doing anything and say that 1,000 points was a bargain for this. They didn't even know these strategies would work and don't need to move at all to keep leveling up. But then they're startled to realize it's almost over, because in just 7 hours, they've already reached the final boss. Everyone thanks the protagonist, saying they finally completed their mission, and that spy thinks it's completely unbelievable and must report it to his boss. At the Bailey Guild office, we can see the sun is about to set, and a man approaches, sharing all the information he gathered about the protagonist. This guy starts to rationalize. His army clearly has high stats, but if there are no corpses and he's interrupted, he becomes completely useless. All professions have a weakness, and that seems to be his, which is why he asks to call a certain someone because there's a favor to request. The boy dared to take the boss's heart from them, so he's going to make sure he pays the price for having challenged them. And so we see a recognizable figure approaching this man at that exact moment. At Sijing University, we can observe a mixed dormitory belonging to someone already familiar. It's Sue, who is looking out the window at this exact moment. Her father had told her to spend her points wisely, and she feels jealous of the protagonist who has over 30,000. She guesses that amount must be extremely useful. But then he smiles, saying he heard from Director Liu that our boy arrived at the university 2 days ago, and he keeps wondering what he's been doing all this time. With his skills, he must be doing very well at this moment, as his strength is so great, he has probably become unbelievably powerful. We can soon observe the next day with 3 elders sitting at a table, one being unknown. This man, who is the dean of the university, says that the protagonist is very audacious and godby questions what could be wrong since his personality is calm. To which it is said that he's charging points to take other people with him into an extensive dungeon. The younger one says there's no problem since this has always happened. However, this old man worries because there are 39 people, including those who haven't completed it for years. The man appears extremely pleased, wondering how he got such an idea, as he definitely cannot let this pass lightly. Yet the elder states that the university's missions have a purpose, being used to select outstanding talents and thus cannot be filtered. God even understands, but they can't do anything about it since our protagonist hasn't broken any rules since he started doing this. These missions had already left him very dissatisfied, as many talented people who weren't sociable ended up being lost, and so the protagonist is doing something positive. Even the bearded man believes this, as he thinks it's already time to change the rules of the university. However, the elder stands up angrily, but the man asks him not to get worked up, for if he does anything against Lin Moyu, he'll ruin the entire dungeon scheme. In the end, this elder's temperament remains unchanged. It's easy to move mountains, but a person's nature is impossible to control. Soon we are taken to the Tyranny Desert, where our protagonist's oasis is located. His skeleton armor has already leveled up, and with his talent, it now has 21,000 defense points, thus being able to withstand the Tyrant Lion's attack. And his curse is at the same stage with a greatly improved effect, but his corpse explosion requires a condition that cannot be met. Soon we see there's 1 hour left until the opening ceremony, where Xue didn't expect to find a roommate in her room. She doesn't have many points left, so she'll cover meals from now on anyway, but the girl recognizes someone. That someone is Feng Shu, who's attracting attention from several girls towards him. They're all very friendly and seem to be good friends, and Su says he seems quite popular. But then a spy asks where our protagonist is, to which her companion doesn't know the answer. The boy finally managed to reach level 22 at this moment, and as expected, his skills now match his level. Thus, he finally leaves the dungeon after so much training. Soon, he managed to accumulate 350,000 points, but it's not enough to buy intermediate skill scrolls, and he needs many more points. He must think of a way to earn more points, but for now, he should attend the opening ceremony. We then see that it's already somewhat late, and there are less than 10 minutes left. They wonder where Lin Moyu is until they finally see him. The boy has an extremely heavy and dark aura around him. Everyone is startled because he's grown stronger, and this combat aura indicates that he just exited a dungeon. This is the country's #1, and he seems a bit different from before, even making people feel fear upon seeing him. But the girl approaches him, calling him a fool, and says they're there, causing our boy to give a somewhat lively smile. If they hadn't come, it would mean they hadn't been accepted. And the pirate girl then asks what level our protagonist is. She is surprised to see he's already reached level 22 as only a few days have passed, but the boy could have reached 24 if he didn't have to carry others. The other heard that instances at the university can cancel dungeon cooldowns with points, and unlike him, they don't have it so easy. But our protagonist claims that earning points isn't a big problem for him after all. Soon we hear the bell ringing and someone says they are being welcomed at Xijing University, and now everyone has an identity as first years there. Students are divided into 3 categories: common, scholar, and superior, each with their own benefits, so they must strive to improve them. There is a traditional event where a duel is held between freshmen and seniors, and they can propose a challenge using their points. Anyone can refuse, but if they win, the points offered by the students will be theirs, and the freshmen are exempt from payment if they lose. Everyone realizes that this is a great opportunity to earn points and must demonstrate their talents to the seniors and professors. The elders watch from above, and it is said that they are the best from their respective provinces and are probably quite arrogant. Godbai asks if anyone is going to challenge Lin Moyu, to which is said that there is no fool who would do that. They will have the chance to earn points without losing anything, and with that, their skill levels may even increase, but they don't compare to those of a senior. It can be seen that everyone is confident and wanting to know more details about what might happen. And so it is explained that the competition will be held in a professional arena where the levels will be equalized and abilities above level 20 cannot be used. Suddenly, an archer approaches, calling the other out for a duel at that moment. The man promptly accepts, and the others recognize him as the #1 from his province. Suddenly, someone shouts at the protagonist, challenging him to a duel. It is the mage, who says that even if he is the #1 in the country, he must be afraid to face him. But our protagonist appears irritated at this moment, saying it's a shame they are at the university because otherwise he would kill him. So is asked how many points are being offered, to which is said 5,000, which is very little. The man with bangs questions how that could be little and asks how many would be necessary for him to accept, to which it is replied at least 100,000 so it can be something fair in the end. Everyone around is shocked by this extremely extravagant proposal from our protagonist, and the mage smiling says that this must be a joke. After all, he could even buy a person like Lin Moyu with that amount. Then the boy, with a serious tone, states that they are betting based on how many points each of them has at the moment, and if he loses, then the points will go to his opponent. He then asks if Senior Lin Zhang accepts this challenge. XX3 observes this and notices that he said more than a single sentence, which suggests he has some kind of personal grudge. The mage grits his teeth, questioning why he is so confident and his honor would be stained if he didn't accept. And so he says he will duel, for he still has an ace up his sleeve to defeat the protagonist. Godbay says he's an idiot for thinking that way, and after all this time since the freshman cleared the dungeon, he must have around 300,000 points. Soon we can see the arena where both are already facing each other with equalized levels. Everyone remembers our protagonist who carried people in the Tyranny Desert, which means he's just a freshman, making everything even more incredible. The mage laughs, saying that being the #1 in the country means nothing in his presence. Our boy, on the other hand, says that his opponent's level is completely inferior to his own. Annoyed, the man with bangs says that he has had top rankings since he was a child and is a genius on a completely different level from this commoner standing before him. However, our young man repeats the same statement as before to irritate him even more. Ling Zhang states that his profession is powerful and bets that our protagonist only had pure luck because on the battlefield, instinct is what matters. But the boy continues saying that his level is inferior, using it as a simple provocation. And suddenly, the mage crosses a line, saying that Lin Moyu's family couldn't even give him any kind of education. At that moment, our boy's gaze becomes empty as memories of his beloved family flash through his mind. It's clear that the man is frightened and questions whether he truly wants to kill that badly. He then yells that even if he has summoning abilities without corpses or an army, he is completely useless. The boy raises his hand with extreme confidence, making blue flames appear, stating that his opponent would already be dead if they weren't at the university right now. We can see the skeleton promptly charging toward the mage to quickly finish him off. However, the man pulls a strange stone from his pocket at that moment, and then breaks it to cast an instant spell, causing our protagonist's summon to turn into sand before reaching its target. The young man realizes that his ability has been sealed and he can no longer summon his skeletons. Confident, the guy with Bang says that this talisman was specifically designed for useless summoners, and since he can't summon and there are no corpses around, now our protagonist is completely useless. He then demands to be respected as his senior, saying that even if he can't kill him, he will give his body a burning pain that will last forever. Our young man did not seem surprised and only thought to himself that these are cheap tricks. The elders argue that this is an intermediate level item that is not easy to get, and apparently someone was already planning to eliminate Lin Moyu. And the necromancer, with that rain of flames in front of him, uses his skeleton armor. The mage laughs, saying it's good news that he's above level 20, as otherwise he wouldn't be able to use his skills. And with a wicked smile, he declares that his rain of flames is extremely powerful and asks what it feels like to be burned. But our protagonist, on the other hand, appears completely unharmed by the torrent of flames in front of him. The man questions how that could have happened. It's impossible, as his skills should have worked. He then raises his staff using his flames once again and launching them toward our protagonist. But it's clear that his skeleton armor is able to block any type of damage directed at its master. Lin Moyu asks if he's finished because those skills are useless against his current level. Raising his hand, he then uses the soul flame at that moment, immediately setting green fire upon his opponent, who screams in extreme pain and agony. Its veins begin to bulge and ketchup starts to come out of his eyes and mouth at that moment. The arena's healer tries to restore him with all her strength while thinking that he's only surviving the damage thanks to his protections. Around them, the spectators can only look on in confusion, as it's already over, since his senior was completely obliterated in seconds. The boy starts walking toward him with confident steps in his abilities. The man tries to tell him not to come closer, and the protagonist declares that he lost in the most humiliating way possible. The guy with Bang says fine, he'll give all his points to the protagonist, and as long as he's alive, no matter the cost, he will make the boy regret this. Then the referee promptly raises his hand, announcing that Lin Moyu is the winner of this battle. And according to the agreement between the two parties, the student Ling Zhen must pay 358,000 points to the student Lin Moyu. Upon hearing such an amount, the man can only question how that's possible, as he doesn't understand such a high score. It hasn't even been a month since our protagonist came to the university, and it's impossible that he's earned that many points. This must be a mistake. However, the referee calls the mage by name, asking if he's calling him a liar, to which he replies no and is ordered to pay the points immediately. But the man, completely injured, claims he doesn't have that massive amount with him. The referee states that he has 128,000, which will be transferred to the protagonist, and the rest must be obtained within 6 months, or else he will be expelled from the university. Our boy receives his payment and then walks past the embarrassing sight beside him at that moment. His ex-secretary approaches, asking how strong he has become in such a short period of time and whether they can do dungeons together in the future, to which he replies yes. Godbai sends a message saying he needs to prepare and will leave in an hour. Our boy heads toward a place he knows very well. His friends are impressed that he's already going to the UN battlefield, which lies on the edge of the abyss. The young man, on the other hand, is focused and commands the sale of the items in his possession. His gold-tier equipment pieces earns 2 million coins, and in the end, his stats are more than enough to leave those items behind. Godbag, after some time, asks Old Meng to take them to the battlefield. Our young man widens his eyes upon seeing the Shenxia Tower, but his companion reassures him, saying it's better to wait for the second evolution before entering that place. Both are then teleported through massive transmutation circles, and we are thus able to see the UN battlefield for the first time. Our young man is amazed by the scenery before him and wonders if it's real. For the aura, there is extremely familiar to that of the 5th phase of the exam they had. The eye in the sky is called the Demon Watcher and serves to monitor the abyss and prevent being caught by surprise. A knight observes both who have just arrived and then sees the purple badge of the man entering. Everyone then bows in respect to the general in front of them. Our boy mistakes this for the influence of the white god, but it is said that this is due only to the insignia he bears. They then arrive at the surgeon acquisition office. With a serious tone, the long-haired man orders that a surgeon insignia be given to the boy beside him. The man at the reception, completely grumpy, asks who the hell is trying to waste his time. But then he notices the insignia on the shoulder of this huge man who even looks like a lion, and immediately bows, calling him general and obeying his order. The man says they are in a hurry, and the younger one understands and proceeds with the requirement right away. While observing our protagonist, he wonders who he might be, because it makes no sense for a divine general to be officially requesting a sergeant insignia for him. The old man says not to store the item in his inventory because it will count the abyss demons that are eliminated. And the ranking follows the color system, with white as the lowest and purple as the highest rank. Each star corresponds to the number of military services rendered within the battlefield, and upon reaching 10, you will be promoted. This is one of the 5-star generals and can confirm that there are not even 10 who compare to him. And so he says to follow him, as they are going to an important place that must be visited. Soon they arrive at the Hall of Heroes, where those exalted as ancestors become known through this place. And those who died in battle were honored as pillars of humanity and will continue to defend the Xia Empire with the power of their soul. All the floating badges begin to recite the oath, and God Bai clasps his hands, saying he asks the sages of the Empire to bless his freshmen. So the Tower of Destruction begins to shine high in the sky in response to this request. And so the spiritual mark is granted to our protagonist. The price is 1 merit star, and this will allow our protagonist to be revived if he dies in the UN battlefield. Our young man widens his eyes at this, as his senior just spent one of his merits to give him such a chance. And then he closes his eyes in deep respect, thanking him for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, this is not a problem, and to compensate, you must kill as many enemies as possible within the area, and the man will explain what this battlefield is. It is said that the war fortress of the Xia Empire is called the Great Wall of Eternity and stretches for over 1,000 kilometers. This is the first fortress of the front line, and unlike other countries, they have never been invaded by demons thanks to the completion of the structure. There is a dungeon entrance in the battlefield, but the demons will prevent humans from entering, so he must be careful as the battles there are dangerous. The man says he has nothing more to say and affirms that the rest is up to our protagonist from now on, and he then starts walking toward the entrance of that grim place. The knights are impressed that he is level 22 and say it is very dangerous to continue, but our protagonist states he is just going to take a look. Upon entering, he notices that the aura of the abyss is very dense and the area's visibility is terrible. Suddenly, he realizes he's being attacked by something coming his way. Our young man gets ready but notices he can't see anything and wonders if it's an invisible enemy. Soon his skeleton charges forward, launching an attack into the air to try and strike. And then it is revealed to be a battlefield ghost, surprising the protagonist. He had already guessed that physical attacks wouldn't work in tests again, confirming it's useless. Being the case, he then uses his elemental attacks from his mage skeletons at that moment. The undead raise their staves in hands, casting their spells, and it can be seen that the apparition is defeated and grants a huge amount of experience to our boy. He realizes he obtained an item called Soul Breath, and a mere normal monster from the battlefield drops extremely rare items. Since there are those immune to physical attacks, there may also be beings immune to elements, so he must be careful. It is seen that he continues exploring the area, making his skeletons eliminate the monsters in front of him. And after walking for 2 hours, he must be approaching some dungeon. But suddenly someone comes running and screaming in his direction at that moment. These are knights who beg him to flee immediately as abyssal monsters are attacking. It is revealed to be dogs with enormous strength, running a pack after these warriors. In the end, they change their target, and our protagonist will likely meet his end there. However, the boy observes that one of the creatures has already devoured a human at that moment. His irritated expression is visible as he says that dogs like them must die to suppress the pain in the hearts of the people who have perished. The silver tier skeleton warriors begin to advance with their massive stats, and thus the abyssal creatures charge forward in the same way to eliminate them. It can clearly be seen that the monsters are hit by elemental spells, suffering a massive amount of damage. And upon falling to the ground, the skeletons approach with their weapons to finish them off. Our boy receives a star because the elimination granted him a huge amount of experience along with merit. His Thanatos scythe absorbed the soul, and he realizes he can finally upgrade his weapon, which will require 30 more of these monsters. And so he extends his hand forward, saying to become his merit, and immediately uses his corpse explosion. Soon, this will make his scythe level up while gaining more merit for his feats, and it would be great if there were more of them there. The knights who were running question what kind of skill that is and soon realize he may be a high-level professional capable of summoning creatures. The dark presence senses something is wrong as its pack was eliminated just like that, so it will now send more to face this high-level professional. And so we see a huge number of eyes appearing to go after our protagonist at this exact moment. Soon he arrives at the Dragon Frontline Outpost, which is a level 26 dungeon. Everyone observes him for being such a young man who doesn't even look 20 years old, yet he is still a white sergeant with a 1-star Xia insignia. One of the men approaches, asking what level he is and if he wants to join them as they can give him a hand, but our protagonist says he doesn't need it. Upon observing the dungeon, he realizes he has finally found the hell difficulty, having only cleared nightmares so far, and it's time to try something harder. One of the men says they still have space on their team, and no matter his level, they can carry him. But then they realize he has already entered and wonder how that's possible, as he's alone at this moment. And they shout that it's the same as throwing his life away, and one of the men says he'll start an investigation because these Shenxia people love to brag. Everyone around notices that the man has a dungeon detector and uses it at that moment to check for irregularities. It is revealed that there are various difficulties and only one team is on health difficulty, with a single survivor. They question if he really entered that place alone, which is completely inhumane, and the man says it's quite stupid. This is the first time he's seen such foolishness. So he decides to bet on how long they think the protagonist will last in that place. However, the knight gets irritated and asks if he's trying to cause trouble, but the man in the cloak says he's just joking and thinks these people are crazy. The one in armor states that someone from country Y is provoking their empire in the wrong way and asks if he truly desires death that badly. He then says that the protagonist must have extraordinary talent if he came alone and is still so young, clearly a promising talent for his country. Soon we see the dragon frontline outpost, where our boy says the atmosphere is completely different. In the end, he can't even use his inventory, which means he's being prevented from using the teleportation stone to escape. And he bets the monsters there are extremely powerful, so he summons his skeleton army. Suddenly, the Draconians spot him as an enemy. Being called lance-wielding dragons, they charge toward the young man accompanied by his army. He must stay focused as the difficulty has greatly increased and the attributes of a single monster are already higher than those in the extensive dungeon. We can see the monsters begin advancing toward one another, and so the wide spear skill is used at that moment to hit all the skeletons. It's clear they were affected by the stun effect, which prevents them from being moved back into the summoning space while in that state. Soon 3 of them are eliminated and destroyed in a completely brutal manner. Our young man orders them to focus on the lancers and warriors while his mages prepare to attack. Thus, his army continues advancing with their master's command in mind. And no matter how high their attributes are, it's not worth it if the opponent is outnumbered. Soon we can see the dragons being completely burned to death by the mage's spells. Our young man uses his skeleton armor and states that he'll need to be cautious because he can't let the lancers surround his warriors. The dungeons he had been facing had no difficulty whatsoever, and he's finally found his situation where he'll have to take real care with his life. And so we see him advancing while other dragons observe him from afar. In the end, everything happened very fast, and this time he'll group them together and eliminate them all at once using his skeletons as bait. The beasts wonder what's going on as they watch the skeletons advancing and turning their backs to them. Soon some time passes and the breeze in the area grows heavier, as if the wind itself is howling. And then he realizes something. His skeletons are being immobilized at that moment by a skill called wind chains, which is something learned by mages. And he notices that the monsters there are even capable of using basic magic and therefore possess some level of intellect. 2 of his warriors were destroyed, but it is stated that losing a few isn't a heavy burden, and just having a few is already enough. And so he shouts that there are far more of them than he had imagined and commands them to advance. It's visible that 5 of them have already been destroyed at this point, but the mage prepares, soon casting a fireball that eliminates several dragons at once with powerful magical attacks. And then we can clearly see the dragon mage preparing a spell and firing it toward our protagonist's army. The boy notices this in advance and narrows his eyes, quickly using his soul flame so the mage cannot eliminate his spellcasters at that moment. It's clear the dragons are defeated, granting a huge amount of experience and dragon hide. But what really catches his attention is the so-called horn, one of the materials requested by God Bai, and he realizes it's something extremely rare to appear here. He will need to complete this dungeon a few more times to gather the materials, and the skeletons that were injured will return to the summoning space. He will continue eliminating them using this method and will use Corpse Explosion just this once to focus his damage. As the skeleton attracts them, our protagonist takes the opportunity to cast the Slowing Curse at that moment, thus causing the dragons to become paralyzed amid those red chains wrapping around their bodies. This is the moment the skeleton mages were waiting for to attack under the order of our protagonist. Soon we see the outside where God Bai has just arrived back at the place where the old man is. He asks if it was completed, to which the response comes with an almost cheerful confirmation. Then the bearded man notices that one of the stars on the man's brooch is missing at that moment. And so he says he's really being serious after all. He spent one of his merits to make a request to the ancestors. But the man who resembles a lion states that the boy's life is much more important, and if he can save a promising talent, he will do it. However, he gave him a mission to collect items from the dragon races, which will also serve as good training. But the old man knows well that the materials have a low drop rate, to which his companion replies that it will need to be completed at least 8 times. But then it's said that it also has hell difficulty, and he wonders if the boy would really be brave enough to choose that. He then remembers that the difficulty doesn't even compare, but for someone who managed to carry 39 people in the Tyranny Desert, this is nothing. God Bai asks what will happen if he manages to complete it, to which it is said that it will be a remarkable feat. It's truly incredible. Our protagonist is sitting in rest mode, realizing that only 2 dragon horns were obtained after 20 eliminations and his warriors are already injured. In the end, this is an extremely enjoyable difficulty for him, and he wonders what other problems he'll encounter along the way. His biggest curiosity lies in the boss of the area, who is inside the castle ahead. Our young man uses several of his abilities at this moment, clearing the way through many enemies. Then he notices archers on top of the castle with group control abilities and wonders what he'll be able to obtain from them. With a smile, he orders his skeleton warriors to advance toward this confrontation. But then he's startled when a shadow destroys one of his summons before his order is even completed. Sensing danger, everyone gathers as this enemy is extremely powerful and has above-average speed. Quickly, the strange presence eliminates another of the skeleton warriors, and he realizes he needs to find a way to stop it, because if this continues, it'll be terrible. And so it becomes clear that it's another invisible monster, so he orders his skeleton mages to cover the area with their spells. It's visible that tornadoes and ice shards fly across the entire area. Soon, the silhouette of a monster can be seen in that moment, and a strong attack is launched in that direction with a red aura. It's a skeleton that successfully eliminated the level 32 elite assassin dragon. Our young man compares its stats with those of his army and realizes the attributes are extreme, and it's no surprise that it was using its fatal strike ability. But now that he discovered its weakness, there won't be a problem after all. Canceling stealth isn't difficult with his damage. A huge number of them can be seen being eliminated by numerous powerful strikes, and he wonders when he'll get the two missing items. The archers in the distance use their group control skill to try and eliminate as much of the army as possible. With a smile, the young man thinks it's perfect for a well-timed counterattack. He throws the corpses toward the gates and uses corpse explosion at that moment. Everyone present is shocked and tense as they see that massive power approaching. And so many are eliminated, even leaving behind blood essence for our protagonist. Excited, he says only the core is missing to obtain all the items his senior asked for. We can see that the skeletons are taking the lead in battle, managing to eliminate the majority without any apparent difficulty. As soon as the area is cleared, our boy wonders where their boss is located, and we can see that the enormous statue ahead of him begins to crack its face at that moment. As the stones fall, the pressure in the entire area begins to rise. We then see the outpost guardian, a boss of hell difficulty with massive attributes. Our young man realizes he is 11 levels weaker than this monster, and the terrifying stats surpass even the tyranny boss. He immediately begins to step back to gain some distance at that moment. Then the enormous demon lets out a brutal roar to clear its area. Lin Moyo promptly feels the sound carrying a slowing curse, stating that he can't let it move freely with such high speed points. Then the enormous red chains gather around the giant to restrict its mobility. Quickly, the creature lets out a piercing scream along with a skill at that moment. We can see the entire area around it begin to tremble, along with lightning appearing due to the mage's attacks. He wonders if he managed to wound the boss in any significant way. However, suddenly the giant opens its glowing eyes, revealing its true boss aura. Then it uses its resistance boost, breaking some of the chains, and our protagonist realizes the slowing effect is becoming less and less effective. 4 of the warriors were practically destroyed with a simple strike from this brutal being. It's visible that it's now wielding its weapon, and it raises it at that moment. Then it slams it into the ground using a group stun against all the skeletons. In just a few seconds, 12 are already eliminated and destroyed again. Our protagonist knows there's a limit to his spiritual energy, and this stun skill is extremely dangerous. So he extends his scythe, summoning his undead general to assist him. The enormous giant uses its military morale skill to encourage all the skeletons. It's clear that as the red aura passes through everyone, the stun wears off much faster. Lin Moyu realizes that this is extremely positive since the effect's duration is drastically reduced if his general continues using it. With the support of his giant, he no longer needs to worry about the stun, which has now become obsolete. And so we can see the mages and warriors encouraging each other as they charge at the enormous demon once again to eliminate it. Its constitution begins to drop at an alarmingly fast rate, becoming smaller and smaller over time. The group's stun is used once more to paralyze the skeletons on the battlefield. However, their military situation causes them to wake up at an overwhelmingly fast speed compared to before. Our boy smiles, saying it will be useless to use those group control effects while his general's ability is active. But then something makes his eyes widen in worry and fear at that moment. And so we see that the boss noticed something that seems to be a clear opening in our protagonist. He quickly charges at him while the boy uses the soul flame to defend himself. His skeleton armor manages to block the attack, and he ends up not being stunned, allowing his flame to spread across the enormous body. The boy commands the massive creature to meet its end at his hands right now. And so we hear the boss's final scream as he feels his flesh being charred by the necromancer's ability. The mages finish him off with combined ice and fire spells at that moment. Soon we see that the post guardian was eliminated and gave a huge amount of experience along with the dragon core. Our protagonist obtained a unique title along with perfection transfer certificate and wonders if the effects of this aren't a bit too powerful. The boy finally reached level 23 and now has a quarter of the mission materials stored in his inventory. Now he checks his attributes and notices a drastic change, with even his skills having shifted slightly. His skeleton warriors, along with the mages, increase their strength to a level that is understandable and even useful for him. Despite the high difficulty level, this hellish place provides much more experience and items than any other, and once he recovers, he plans to redo it. He is soon teleported to the entrance of the Dragon Battle Post dungeon, and as he looks ahead, he is startled to see a huge number of bodies in a place that was once full of life. He quickly notices a strong smell of blood permeating all around him. Then he uses his skeleton armor, questioning what could have happened in that place. Suddenly, several abyssal hounds approach him to attack. The young man notices this, and his skeleton armor protects him as it's revealed that an entire pack is in the area. Suddenly, his skeletons rush out using their rage strike to eliminate them with ease. The boy draws his scythe to focus on eliminating them and avenging the deaths of the people on the battlefield. But then, out of nowhere, a light descends from the sky and eliminates one of the creatures nearby. The boy is slightly startled as a voice asks him to come to them as quickly as possible. This is a group of survivors who say the place was taken over by abyssal hounds. A woman asks if he's hurt and says they'll hold them off while the teleportation stone is used to escape. The boy takes the opportunity to ask what happened and is told that a large number of those monsters were sent in to surround them. They could have escaped, but probably worried about their companions and decided to wait for those in the dungeon to come out. Even the team from Country Y couldn't escape from there, and there were many casualties on their side. The woman promptly shouts that there is no one left inside the dungeon, and if that's the case, they must prepare to leave immediately. But soon they find themselves questioning why our protagonist remains there at that moment. Then our young man gives a small smile as his surroundings fill with shadows. Raising his scythe, he declares that he still intends to complete the dungeon a few more times. And so we see that the mages are already prepared with various spells to attack him. Soon the huge number of abyssal hounds is subdued by a tornado of flames that wipes them out easily. And those who manage to survive are completely destroyed by the warriors who strike with their rage attacks. The men question what's happening and where so many skeletons came from. And it can be clearly seen that the pack is greater in number and slowly advancing toward the soldiers. Everyone is startled upon realizing that this powerful army was summoned by our protagonist, and he states that the abyssal hounds are nothing compared to them. The young man tells everyone to stay behind him as he prepares the spell. The men question why they obeyed so unconsciously, but they simply accept it. And the boy says he's going to use a group attack ability and doesn't want to hurt them in the process. Thus, we see that the corpse explosion is used toward the front, and a massive explosion of colossal size occurs before their eyes. The souls move toward our protagonist's scythe, and the men wonder what kind of ability that is. Our young man has just been promoted to a 1-star soldier and earned contribution points. Additionally, his weapon also leveled up, and he cannot miss such an opportunity to increase his strength. The men say he must be an exemplary student from some prestigious university, and that's why he entered this dungeon alone to face the boss. But then they remember there was only one person in hell difficulty and are shocked that he managed to conquer a place said to be inhuman. So the video ends here. If you don't want to miss the next part, activate the notification bell, and see you next time on Tob's channel.